After disappearing for 15 years, the child's mother traveled back in time. After the plane crash, Lin He was dressed in the clothes of a 15-year-old. Her little milk dog husband became a refined and charming old man, with a full breath of hormonal aggression. Chapter 1, 15 years later. Breaking news: at 10:23 a.m., Flight NA620 of N Airlines, during its mission, went off radar over the Pacific Ocean. Water. Water surged from all directions, and her chest felt like it was about to explode. The suffocating feeling made Lin He struggle desperately with her limbs. Suddenly, she felt a buoyant force beneath her, lifting her up. After an unknown amount of time, the sound of the waves faded, and she opened her eyes in shock. How did she end up in a bathtub? Lin He remembered being on a plane to Country A. The plane had shaken violently when the flight attendants were serving meals, and then there were shouts as people said the wings were emitting black smoke. The plane crashed into the sea, and people frantically put on life jackets, but they were too slow as water filled the cabin. The water level rose. At that moment, Lin He was confused. Was this a dream or reality? The tickling sensation in her throat made Lin He cough, and just then, footsteps were heard, and the door was opened. Seeing a familiar face, Lin He's eyes welled up with tears. She pouted and reached out for a hug, whining, "Ciao ciao." Her long eyelashes still had droplets of water on them, and Lin He, unable to tell whether it was a dream or reality, was filled with an indescribable fear. Jiang Qiao was Lin He's husband. The two had fallen in love in high school, and after graduating from university, they got married. If anyone spoiled Lin He in this world, it was Jiang Qiao, and no one could compare. Lin He thought Jiang Qiao would hold her, kiss her cheek, and tell her the dream was false, that she shouldn't be afraid with him by her side. But the next second, her throat was gripped tightly. Only then did Lin He realize something was wrong. The man in front of her resembled Jiang Qiao, but he also didn't he. "Who sent you? How dare you disguise yourself like this?" The man's cold eyes fixed on Lin He's face, as if he was remembering something through her. However, that feeling disappeared in an instant, replaced by a ruthless and gloomy expression. The killing intent in his gaze made Lin He's pupils contract. She had no doubt that the man before her wanted to kill her in that moment. Two choices. Either you change this face yourself, or I'll help you destroy it. His tone was light, but the pressure was undeniable, and the warning was clear. It was not a joke. After speaking, the man straightened up and took a tissue from the side, wiping his hand as if touching something filthy. Lin He's wet hair was dripping, and she shivered. Whether it was from the cold or fear, she couldn't tell. In her memory, Jiang Qiao always smiled kindly, tolerating her capriciousness. She had once said she liked his youthful, clean appearance, so even after becoming a father and a leader of a corporation, he never styled his hair like other CEOs, who would use gel to slick it back. Lin He used to tease him, saying that his clean, fresh look lacked the mature vibe that would match his stature. Jiang Qiao would smile and say nothing, never changing his style. He always smelled like sunshine. But the man before her was different. He had a side part, his black shirt tailored to fit perfectly, 2 buttons undone. His once clear eyes were now dark and cold, radiating a chilling air. In her memory, Jiang Qiao was a warm, clingy cat, lazily stretching in the sun. The man before her felt more like a black panther, lurking in the shadows, ready to pounce. Her gaze fell on the man's collarbone, where there was a barely noticeable scar. It was from the time he had saved her and was cut by broken glass from a window. Lin He's lips trembled as she looked at the fine lines around his eyes. They had the weathered depth of time, but... "You've aged." The change was drastic, but Lin He was sure the man in front of her was Jiang Qiao. His hawk-like eyes narrowed slightly, and his expression darkened with even more disgust. "Your voice sounds very similar. Too bad I never settle for substitutes. No matter who sent you, if you don't want to die. Qiao Qiao, don't you recognize me? What's going on? Am I dreaming or has something happened to me? This is crazy." Before she could finish her sentence, she was interrupted. Lin He, furious, splashed water with her hand. "Are you Jiang Qiao?" Jiang Qiao didn't respond, only glaring at her coldly. If anyone else saw this expression, they'd be terrified. Whenever Mr. Jiang wore that look, it meant bloodshed was imminent. At first, Lin He was scared, but now, with adrenaline surging, and seeing his familiar face, her anger overcame her fear. "Did you used to live in Yun City, in the East Alley of Ruian District?" Were you good at everything except singing? Didn't you have an allergy to mangoes, but ate them anyway because I loved them? Did you? Lin He went on in a flurry of words. She touched her neck, where it still hurt from his grip, and tears began to fall. She was both angry and aggrieved. She was already scared, and now she was being treated like this. As she cried, she felt embarrassed and wiped her tears away childishly. The fact that Jiang Qiao was the one who had hurt her made her feel even more wronged. She didn't notice the change in Jiang Qiao's face as she spoke. His hands, once resting at his sides, were trembling uncontrollably, and the redness in his eyes was even worse than his previous fury. Who are you? His voice was hoarse and thick with a sob. The 3 words seemed to drain every last bit of strength from his body. Lin He. I'm Lin He. Who else could I be? Lin He stepped out of the bathtub, her vision blurry from the increasing tears. She grabbed a nearby bathrobe and pushed the person beside her away with all her strength. Get away, you annoying jerk. Annoying jerk was the phrase Lin He always used to insult Jiang Qiao when she was angry. Jiang Qiao, pushed to the door, staggered and leaned against the wall, gasping for breath as if he had been rescued from drowning. Then, as if something occurred to him, he punched the wall with a clenched fist. His furrowed brows relaxed slightly as he stared at his bloody knuckles in a daze. It hurt. In the bathroom, Lin He changed out of her wet clothes and into the bathrobe. After venting her emotions, she was unsure of what was happening. She was certain the plane crash wasn't a dream, and the clothes she was wearing were the ones she had worn on the flight. But how did she end up here, and what was going on with Jiang Qiao? Just as she was about to go out and talk to him, the door was suddenly slammed open, and she was tightly embraced. The familiar embrace made Lin He's tense nerves relax slightly. She mumbled, "What's going on? The plane crashed into the sea, and now I'm here? And what was with your attitude just now?" She stopped mid-sentence as she felt something wet on her neck. Jiang Qiao was crying? He, you disappeared for 15 years. I've been going crazy looking for you, he. Feeling the arms around her waist tighten, Lin He was stunned. What? Chapter 2, I am your mother. There's a very popular saying that Lin He found to be very meaningful. Close your eyes and open them again, a day has passed. Close your eyes and never open them again, a lifetime is gone. But to say that 15 years passed in the blink of an eye seemed utterly unreasonable to her. Anyone hearing such a thing would find it absurd. Did you team up with that little brat and to shoot a hidden camera? Pretending to cry, huh? But, I have to admit, your makeup's pretty convincing. The more Lin He spoke, the tighter Jiang Qiao held her. My waist is going to break. Lin He fumed, stretching out her hand to pinch Jiang Qiao. This kind of small action from her hadn't changed even after marriage. Sorry, he. Jiang Qiao immediately loosened his grip at her words. Lin He huffed and tried to pull away his hand but then noticed something wrong and looked down. Her expression suddenly changed. What happened to your hand? Blood was smeared across his right hand's knuckles, several places were torn, and there was swelling. Lin He pulled Jiang Qiao towards the medicine cabinet, the kind usually stocked in hotel rooms. Jiang Qiao followed closely behind, his gaze fixed on her. What happened? Just a moment ago, when you were choking me, you were fine. You? Lin He stopped in her tracks while applying the medicine. Something didn't make sense. If this was some kind of hidden camera prank, Jiang Qiao would never have acted so viciously. She reached for the phone on the coffee table, checking the time. The date displayed clearly showed 15 years had passed. Where have you been all these years? 15 years ago, there had been a plane crash. 123 passengers went missing, and the black box was found on a small island. The bodies of missing passengers were gradually discovered along the coastline over the years. Jiang Qiao had spent years searching for Lin He, yet he feared finding her. Seeing her alive in front of him was a scene Jiang Qiao had dreamed about countless times. Lin He couldn't hear his question, still immersed in her shock. 15 years, how could this happen? Does that mean Anan is 21 now? And the 1st and the 15th? Lin He suddenly raised her head, her eyes filled with determination. You need to call Anan on video, I want to see what he looks like now. Jiang Qiao, call him. If this was real, what about those missing 15 years? Seeing the grown-up Anan was the only way she'd believe it. Seeing Lin He's agitation, Jiang Qiao quickly reassured her, okay, I'll call him now. He dialed an S video call. The other side didn't answer right away, only picking up after the third ring. "What's up?" The cold 3 words, and the pitch-black screen, instantly made Lin He's troubled heart cool down. This couldn't be her dear son, and that little one would always be calling for pupper and mama in the softest way. Now, how could he look so gloomy and distant? "Anan, is that you?" Lin He held the phone in front of herself. There was a brief pause from the other side before the sound of the camera being turned on. The screen brightened instantly. As soon as she saw the face, Lin He froze. How could she not recognize her own son's features? This was just a grown-up version of Anan, and he hadn't changed much from his younger self. "Hey, if you want to look for some cheap woman, don't come in front of me, you East sure wannabe." The video was abruptly cut off. Lin He. Her son just scolded her. A mother's strength surged within her, dispelling all the confusion in her heart. She slammed the phone down, grabbed a cup of water from the table and drank most of it before saying, "Now tell me, what the hell is going on?" Where was her adorable little bundle of joy? How did he turn into a little hedgehog? Jiang Qiao lowered his gaze, his shoulders slumped, and his expression was full of melancholy and helpless sadness. "After you went missing, I searched the world for you. I neglected the children, and they misunderstood me. I'm sorry, he. Lin He pursed her lips. The jerk knew exactly how to play the sympathy card. He had been doing it since they were dating. But then, when she thought about it, if she had really been missing for 15 years, it meant the children had lost their mother, Jiang Qiao had lost his wife, it was a broken family. Lin He felt a sharp pain in her heart. It felt like the heavens were playing a cruel joke on her. "I don't know, Jiang Qiao. I don't understand what happened. The plane crashed, fell into the sea, and I tried desperately to escape the cabin, but there were too many people. I couldn't get out, and so much water got into my mouth." Lin He was genuinely unclear, and even now she still felt dizzy. "When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in the bathtub, and then you were choking me. It really hurt." She sobbed twice, holding onto Jiang Qiao's neck, her forehead pressed against his, feeling the pulse in his neck, and she finally felt some comfort. This entire series of actions felt incredibly natural. Relying on Jiang Qiao was a habit Lin He had long ingrained in herself. Don't be afraid, he, I'm here. I'll protect you." Jiang Qiao soothed Lin He while subtly lighting incense by the bed. Thin wisps of white smoke rose, blurring the figures of the two. "How could I open my eyes and find it's 15 years later? My head is so messed up. Ananan, why has he become so angry? He must have been really unhappy all these years, and the 1st and 15th, they are still so young." The sandalwood scent filled the air, and as Lin He's consciousness grew lighter, her voice became more muffled as she slowly drifted off to sleep. Once he was sure she had fallen asleep, Jiang Qiao dialed a number. "Get Dr. Zhang here immediately." After hanging up, Jiang Qiao opened the laptop on the nightstand, typed a few commands, and the hotel corridor's surveillance footage appeared on the screen, showing the time when he left the room. Meanwhile, holding onto Lin He's injured right hand, Jiang Qiao had not let go once. In the meantime, in Jiang's room, everything was in disarray. He was far from indifferent as he appeared in the video. Upon seeing the face similar to his mother's, his mind went blank. Then, he quickly reacted. He felt utterly disgusted. Was the person out of their mind? They were playing the substitution game. Angry, Jiang vented by smashing everything in his room. Anyone who knew Jiang knew that joking about his mother was strictly off limits. No one could even make an innocent remark related to her. Whenever anything to do with his mother came up, Jiang became like a furious lion. The chandelier on the ceiling finally couldn't withstand the force and fell, plunging the room into darkness. Jiang, curled up on the couch, hugged his body tightly. In his hands was a birthday gift from his mother when he was 6, a hand-carved necklace. He held it close to his chest, the only warmth he could find now. A soft whimper sounded in the silence, like a wounded animal, helpless and lost. "Mom, Anna misses you so much." After a long while, Jiang suddenly opened his eyes. No, he couldn't allow any counterfeit to use his mother's name. Chapter 3, The Eldest Son's Outburst. Dr. Zhang was a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. He had a serious expression as he checked Lin He's pulse, his demeanor focused and meticulous. After a while, he exhaled, then glanced at the incense by the bedside. It was his own blend, and it was likely the reason Lin He was sleeping so soundly. Based on the pulse, there are no major issues with her body. However, she seems to have some deficiency in both heart and spleen, and she likely has some anxiety or unsettled emotions. Dr. Zhang chose his words carefully. Since entering the room, Mr. Jiang's gaze had not left Lin He's resting form. The usual sharpness in his eyes softened only when looking at her. Curious, Dr. Zhang couldn't help but glance a bit longer but was quickly warned by Mr. Jiang with a sharp look. He promptly looked away and continued with his work. Before leaving, he reminded, "Don't use the incense too frequently." Usually, Mr. Jiang would disregard such advice, but after this small remark, he immediately turned it off. Mr. Jiang had severe insomnia, and Dr. Zhang had prescribed a strong dose of the incense. It didn't seem to help Mr. Jiang much, but for Lin He, it worked wonders calming her mind. Using it occasionally was fine. Dr. Zhang was surprised to see Mr. Jiang so cooperative for once. He had never been one for gossip, but today, he found himself somewhat curious about Lin He's background. After leaving the hotel, he continued to think. Maybe someone would finally be able to manage Mr. Jiang, the difficult patient. Once Dr. Zhang confirmed Lin He's health was fine, Mr. Jiang felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He resumed watching the security footage. There was no sign of anyone entering the room while he was gone, including the cleaning staff. When Lin He appeared, Mr. Jiang was overjoyed but still cautious. He feared this might be some elaborate ruse. Over the years, many people had sent women who resembled Lin He to get close to him. Each one looked more and more like her, and each time, he ruthlessly dealt with the masterminds behind these schemes. No one had dared try that in a while, but he couldn't rule out that someone might be using it against him now. Mr. Jiang knelt beside the bed and gently rubbed Lin He's hand against his cheek, staring at her face, the face he had missed so much, his eyes clouded with an overwhelming mix of emotions. So far, there was no evidence of trickery. If this was indeed a well-crafted scam, he would accept it. Mr. Jiang preferred to believe that his Lin He had truly come back. Lin He slept deeply. When she woke up, she found Mr. Jiang holding her tightly, his eyes dark with exhaustion. She stared at him for a long time. She couldn't bear to think of what he and the children had gone through in the 15 years she was missing. "Lin He, good morning." As Mr. Jiang woke up, his eyes first showed panic, but when he saw that Lin He was still beside him, he relaxed, offering a faint smile. This was the first smile Lin He had seen from him since last night. He had once been a man who smiled so often, and seeing that smile brought back memories. Lin He remembered what Mr. Jiang had said about the children misunderstanding him. The fact that he said children implied that not just Anan, but also Chuyi and Shawu, had issues with their father. Lin He thought about this but didn't ask further. She planned to meet the children first, then speak to them. They had a simple breakfast, and then they boarded the flight back home. Mr. Jiang noticed Lin He's concern, but he didn't bring it up. It wasn't just that the children were distant from him, their relationships with each other were also. Lin He had 3 children. When the plane accident happened, her eldest son was 6, and the twins were only 2. Before they returned home, she considered calling Anan first, but then thought about her strange situation. A few words wouldn't explain everything, and it might cause misunderstandings. She decided to wait until they could meet in person. The thought of her children growing up without her by their side made Lin He's heart ache. Meanwhile, in B City, Anan was feeling just as distressed. He was angry. After rushing back to the family mansion early in the morning, he noticed a new batch of Damascus roses planted in the garden. These were his mother's favorite flowers. That woman was imitating her? Since the plane crash, the mansion had remained unchanged for 15 years. Nothing had been replaced, not even a vase. Now everything had changed. The old sofa was replaced with a new one, the stairs were recarpeted, and the coffee table was changed. Had he lost his mind? Was his father erasing everything his mother had loved just to please a new woman? Anan's rage boiled over. "Stop. Don't change anything." The cleaning staff, startled, froze, glancing at the housekeeper for guidance. The housekeeper quickly approached. "Young master, it was Mr. Jiang's order." "What did he order?" Anan's voice was cold, as if ice shards were present in his words, making the housekeeper tremble slightly. Knowing Anan's temper, the housekeeper dared not lie. Full house cleaning, the planting of Damascus roses in the garden, and cleaning of the third-floor master bedroom. The housekeeper's voice grew quieter with each word, as Anand's face darkened ominously. Everyone in the house knew that the third-floor master bedroom was a forbidden zone. It was where Anand's mother had stayed, and for years, only Mr. Jiang had entered. He had personally handled all cleaning and maintenance in that room. Now, however, Mr. Jiang had instructed the staff to clean it, along with everything else. Everyone could sense the change. The family was going to have a new mistress. The housekeeper gestured for the other staff to continue. He thought that after Anand heard the instructions, he would calm down. I said, don't touch anything. Are you deaf? Anand was not one to tolerate things lightly. He could accept his father being with another woman, but not in such a repulsive way. If there was a new woman in his father's life, fine, but that didn't mean she could erase his mother's presence from the house. And that woman was clearly trying to take his mother's place by using her resemblance to her. No way. Finally, the housekeeper dared not let the staff continue cleaning. Seeing the tension on Anand's face, the housekeeper felt nervous. When Mr. Jiang returned with his new wife, Anand was sure to cause a scene. At that moment, the housekeeper tried calling Mr. Jiang, but the phone didn't connect, until he heard the sound of a car outside. The housekeeper's lips quivered. Mr. Jiang was back. The servants in the house fell silent, sensing the heavy atmosphere. The housekeeper rushed outside to greet Mr. Jiang and saw the new lady, dressed in a light green long gown. The housekeeper was stunned for a few seconds. He had joined the Jiang family 10 years ago, and though he had only seen Mrs. Jiang in photos, he could still tell that this new lady looked almost exactly like her. At first, the housekeeper had thought that any man who could remain faithful to his wife for 15 years had done well. But now, seeing the new wife, it was clear that Mr. Jiang hadn't moved on. Sir, the eldest young master is inside, he. Before the housekeeper could finish, the new lady's expression brightened, and she exclaimed in surprise, Anand's here. Lin He hadn't expected to see her son so soon. She quickly let go of Mr. Jiang's arm and hurried into the house. Mr. Jiang's expression darkened slightly when he found himself suddenly left with an empty arm. He followed her inside. Housekeeper. The new lady was eager to please the eldest young master. This wasn't going to end well. Chapter for my mother died a long time ago. Jiang's ears were much sharper than the housekeeper's. He had heard the noise outside a long time ago, so naturally he did not miss the word Anand. This made me even angrier. Who allowed her to call me that? Lin He ran into the house excitedly, but before he could give his son a big hug, he was stopped by the deafening sound of rolling words. Get away, woman, stay away from me. Lin He was a little overwhelmed when he saw his son had grown so big. His eyes fell on the necklace he had made himself around Jiang's neck, and he felt at ease again. No matter how old it is your treasure. Taking a deep breath, Lin He said in a soothing tone, Anand, this is unbelievable, but... Jiang didn't listen. He simply ignored Lin He and rushed towards his father who came in from behind. The 20-year-old boy was already as tall as his father. Why are you doing this? My mother is not someone you can just find a random woman to replace. Is she worthy? Are you crazy? Angry Jiang smiled sarcastically, yes, you've been crazy for a long time. They were clearly the closest father and son, but now they seemed like old enemies. Their hatred in Jiang's eyes frightened Lin He. Jiang Qiao had a calm expression. He first walked to Lin He and took her hand and put it on his arm. Then he said to Jiang calmly, come to the study and talk. It turns out that things that are so bizarre and outrageous are hard to believe. In the study, Jiang was still angry after hearing the explanation. You can even come up with such a ridiculous reason to let her in. Jiang didn't understand why his father treated him as a fool. Seeing his son's reaction, a thought suddenly flashed through Lin He's mind. Does Jiang Qiao really believe in him? She is your mother. Jiang Qiao held Lin He's hand tightly and said with certainty. My mother died a long time ago. Jiang never admitted in his heart that his mother had passed away, but when he saw his father like this, he shouted such words for the first time. Looking at the young woman in front of him who was not much older than him, Jiang shook his head. She was crazy, really crazy. Anand, do you remember our little secret? We carved a necklace together and gave it to Dad as a birthday present. You also said you wanted to write our names on the back of the necklace. Jiang looked suspicious. This was indeed the agreement between him and his mother, but the servants heard it at the time, so they could have found out. Jiangan didn't believe this kind of absurd thing at all, and didn't want to dwell on it too much. He looked at Jiang Qiao and said word by word in a strong voice, "I don't care who you want to be with, but don't get involved with my mother. This villa belongs to my mother. You move out with this woman, and you are not allowed to touch anything related to my mother." When mentioning his mother, a trace of fragility flashed across Jiangan's face, which was soon replaced by cruelty. He could do anything when pushed into a corner. The young face exuded a threatening tone, and the stern voice sounded like a wolf cub that was surrounded and forced into a desperate situation. Facing Jiangan like this, Jiang Qiao's expression did not change at all, but Lin He's eyes were filled with tears. Jiangan frowned. "What a good actor. How have you raised your child all these years?" The fact that he can say these things shows that you, as a father, have not given him enough sense of security. Mayanan is the most obedient and good baby. He should grow up in a honeypot, not in such a miserable state. Lin He was sad. Her son must have suffered a lot these years. Jiang poor little and was dumbfounded. Because he saw Lin He crying while twisting his father's ear and scolding him, with such force that his ear was deformed. No one dared to do this to his father. The key is the father's attitude. He allowed the other party to bully him. Not to mention being angry, he didn't even reach out to pull him away. He still whispered to coax him not to be angry. "What do you mean I'm not angry? I'm so angry that I'm dying. Don't eat dinner later. Tell me about the children's situation." Lin He felt that he should have asked earlier and shouldn't have felt sorry for this bastard. Towards Jiang Qiao, Lin He was as cruel as the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves, but towards Jiangan, she became a loving mother as gentle as the spring breeze. "Anan, I know this is hard to accept, but this is the truth. I am really your mother. You must have suffered a lot since she wasn't around all these years." "I'm sorry, baby." Jiangan told himself that the woman opposite was acting crazy and stupid. The women outside would resort to any crazy means to get close to the Jiang family. But when his eyes met that tolerant and gentle gaze and he heard the name, baby, again, his nose couldn't help but feel sore. The sudden feeling of grievance made him take a step back at a loss. Lin He sniffed sadly and pulled out a few strands of hair and placed them on the table. "Baby, it's good that you're on guard. This is my hair. Take it to an institution you trust to have a DNA test. The data report won't lie. During this time, think carefully about what is known only between us mother and son. After you see the report, come back to me to confirm it, okay? Mom will be home the whole time." Lin He coaxed his son gently and patiently, and the enlarged version of his son was no different from when he was little Tuanzi, and his eyes and movements still showed the shadow of his childhood. Seeing the subtle movement of Jiangan's little finger bending slightly, Lin He knew that his son had heard it. Jiangan tried to convince himself to accept that statement, but it was too outrageous. He took 2 steps back, and finally, as if he had made up his mind, he strode over, picked up the hair, and then walked away without saying a word. After his son left, Lin He began to interrogate Jiang Qiao. She doesn't care about other people and things, she just wants to find out about the growth experiences of her 3 children. After the plane crash, the bodies of dead passengers were found one after another near the black box location. Up to now, dozens of people on board are still missing, neither alive nor dead. Lin He is one of them. Jiang Qiao always held on to hope, believing that Lin He was still alive, so he personally led a team and a boat to search, and this search continued uninterruptedly for a year. At first, Jiangan was brought up by Jiang Qiao, but the young Jiangan was unable to adapt to life on the boat, so he had to be sent back to the villa to be taken care of by a nanny. The twin boys and girls are placed in kindergartens and are cared for by professional staff throughout the whole process. Jiang Qiao's life was divided into 2 parts from then on: work and looking for Lin He. People have limited energy, so the children were neglected, and gradually the relationship between father and son became more and more distant. Jiangan has been attending boarding schools since he was a child. He also lived on weekdays in the 1st and 15th grades of junior high school. I hired 10 private housekeepers to take care of their daily lives. I know I was wrong. It was me who didn't take good care of them. Please don't be angry, okay? From now on, our family will live happily together and never be separated again. Jiang Qiao reached out and tugged at the corner of Lin He's sleeve, his eyes full of caution. I need some quiet time. Lin He didn't expect Jiang Qiao to do such a terrible thing after she disappeared. So when the children lost their mother, it was equivalent to losing their father at the same time in many senses. Lin He drove Jiang Qiao out of the study and sat on the floor alone, looking through the children's photos, report cards, private butler records, etc. in the cabinet. She tried hard to retrieve every bit of information about her children. At the door of the study, Jiang Qiao, who was kicked out, sat on the ground. He wanted to stay here to feel at ease. That night, the Jiang family villa was brightly lit. Chapter 5, Finding Trouble. Lin He didn't know when she fell asleep, and she was awakened by the falling of the photo album in her hand. It was daybreak outside. She walked out of the study without looking down and was almost tripped by someone on the ground. It was Jiang Qiao who was guarding the door. Before the two of them could say anything, the housekeeper came upstairs with a cell phone. "Sir, it's the eldest lady's call." Lin He looked at his phone with burning eyes. It was his daughter. The older twin sister, Chu Yi. Jiang Qiao took the phone and tactfully pressed the speakerphone button so that Lin He could also hear his daughter's voice. "Dad, can you give Special Assistant Zhang more authority? Next time, I won't ask for your permission if the amount is less than 10 million, okay? Otherwise, it will be very troublesome. I need 8 million now. Please use my domestic card. Don't make a mistake. I'm going to be busy now. Bye." Without waiting for Jiang Qiao's reply, Chu Yi hung up the phone without any reluctance. The most common channel of communication between the father and daughter is the phone call, and the content is usually one asking for money and the other giving money. "Butler, go contact Special Assistant Zhang and ask him to give," etc. Lin He interrupted Jiang Qiao, pinched the bridge of her nose and asked with a headache, "If the child wants money, just give it to her. Chu Yi is only 17 years old this year. What does she need 8 million for? Do you understand it clearly and then give the money?" After having children, Lin He told herself that she would never raise her children to be playboys. Now, she has not yet met her daughter, but she found out through a phone call that Jiang Qiao has raised her to be such a child. Seeing that Lin He was about to get angry, Jiang Qiao quietly defended himself. You said, a daughter raised in wealth." Due to his failure in fulfilling his duties as a father, Jiang Qiao was never stingy with money. "Then why don't you transfer the money first?" Jiang Qiao asked carefully. Lin He didn't say anything. Seeing this, Jiang Qiao continued, "What am I going to ask her for the money now?" Chu Yi on the other end of the phone was quite surprised when he saw the caller ID. It was the first time his father called back after he asked for money. "What do you want that money for?" Chu Yi was stunned. This was the first time his father asked him for money. "Just use it. If you buy clothes or bags, it will be gone soon." Chu Yi's answer was vague. Jiang Qiao looked at Lin He. "Is this reason okay? Should I give her money?" Lin He frowned, his daughter was obviously lying. Jiang Qiao understood and immediately said coldly, "Chu Yi, don't lie to me." Chu Yi tightened her grip on the phone. Her father never cared about her life. Thinking that with her father's ability, the truth would be discovered even if she didn't say anything, she chose to confess. "There is a classmate in our class who is laughed at for his poor family. I plan to give him a car to slap the faces of those who laughed at him." This time Jiang Qiao didn't need Lin He to signal him. He asked, "Male classmates?" After a moment of silence, a soft hum came from the other end of the phone. "Han Xian doesn't know, I took the initiative to send it." The reason was not passed. Chu Yi wanted to explain a little more, but the phone was hung up. She was dumbfounded. It was just 8 million, why did her father become so calculative? In the evening, Chu Yi received a call from her cousin, saying that someone saw her father bringing a woman home and asked her if she knew what happened. Chu Yi suddenly realized why. Her father must have been ignored. Damn bad woman. When she gets back, she will make sure the other person is in trouble. This is a later story for now. Jiang Qiao, who just hung up the phone, felt uneasy because he found that Lin He was in an even worse mood. "You really don't worry about your children at all." Lin He said this while gnashing his teeth. Jiang Qiao was such a smart man. If he had paid more attention to his children, he wouldn't have ended up like this. "I'm sorry. I was wrong." Jiang Qiao did not make any excuses and admitted his mistake directly. The butler standing by didn't dare to breathe, for he could tell that this new wife was no ordinary lady. Their housekeeper thought that in the Shura field, The new wife was the one who gave in, but it turned out that the eldest master left with a sour face, and their husband did not have any masculinity in front of his wife, and was completely henpecked. The head of the Jiang group gave his daughter 8 million yuan, but he still had to consider the new wife's mood. No one would believe it if he told others about it. It seems that the saying applies everywhere: if there is a stepmother, there is a stepfather. The housekeeper complained crazily in his heart. Then, the butler became more respectful. Their husband was so angry with his son and daughter for the other party, and he was just a housekeeper, so he could change her at will. He couldn't offend his new wife. The butler warned himself. So when Jiang Muhua called him to test him, the butler did not mention anything about Lin He. Jiang Muhua is Lin He's cousin and Chu Yi's aunt. After Lin He's accident, she often went to school to visit Chu Yi and Chu Yi. Jiang knew that his mother had a bad relationship with Jiang Muhua, so he ignored her altogether. The two younger ones were not aware of that, so they contacted her more often on weekdays. Jiang Qiao knew about this, and thought it would be good for the children to have a female elder to care for them. Jiang Muhua was greedy for money, so he gave it to her, and she didn't need that little bit of money. This is how the years have passed. At this moment, Jiang Muhua heard the news from somewhere that a woman appeared next to Jiang Qiao, so she hurriedly called the housekeeper to inquire. The housekeeper returned to the room and had not yet recovered from the shock of finding out that his husband was a henpecked womanizer. When he saw that the call was from Jiang Muhua, he snorted coldly. Every time this guy is with the eldest daughter, he always acts like an elder. If you don't know him, you might think he is the mistress of the Lin family. His little thoughts are so obvious. After saying a few perfunctory words, the butler hung up the phone, turned his head, looked out the window and let out a long sigh. He had a feeling that his daily work from now on would be very colorful. Upstairs, Jiang Qiao was trying to save his points. I'm an exchange student abroad on the first day of the new year and will be back next week. On the 15th day, I'm going to a neighboring city with my classmates to participate in a marathon and won't be back this week. Jiang Qiao talked about the children's whereabouts to prove that he did not ignore them at all. He leaned his head on Lin He's shoulder, his hands tightly around Lin He's waist, and his voice became unconsciously gentler and gentler. If the butler saw Jiang Qiao's cuddly look, he would be even more shocked. Lin He ignored Jiang Qiao. The situation at home was more chaotic than she thought. Anan was a little hedgehog, her daughter was suspected of being in love, and her youngest son. I guess the situation isn't going to get any better. She should take a good rest first and solve the problems one by one. Anan might come back tomorrow, so she has to put on a good face and let Anan see that she is still the mother she remembers. As a result, Lin He did not wait for Jiangan to come, but met another uninvited guest. Butler, the tea you bought this time is good and very fragrant. Jiang Muhua was talking to the housekeeper, but her eyes kept sweeping towards the stairs. She came here to meet that woman today. Jiang Qiao has been keeping himself clean for so many years, and the sudden appearance of this woman makes Jiang Muhua feel like she is facing a formidable enemy. Yes, Jiang Muhua had that kind of thoughts about Jiang Qiao. The housekeeper was in a dilemma. He wanted Jiang Muhua to leave, but it was not his duty to chase him away, especially since the other party was claiming to be delivering something for the eldest lady. This paintbrush is a gift I gave to Chu Yi. This kid is forgetful and forgot to bring it. Oh, butler, I heard that. There was no news over the phone, so Jiang Muhua came in person. He came so early in the morning and he didn't believe that he wouldn't be able to see that woman. Butler, who's here? It's so noisy. Jiang Muhua stopped talking abruptly, and his expression became a little stiff as he looked at the graceful woman walking down from upstairs. Although she was wearing a facial mask, it was not difficult to tell from her facial features that she was a beauty. She has a slim waist, glowing white skin, big breasts and a nice butt, and a smooth neck without a single wrinkle. Jiang Muhua looked at him with such a discerning gaze, her fingers holding the teacup turned white from pinching them. Youth was gone forever, and no matter how well she took care of herself, she could not compare to the collagen of a young goblin. Lin He had just gotten up and wanted to lie down on the rocking chair on the second-floor balcony to calm down for a while, but when he heard a noise downstairs, he came over to check. Meeting Jiang Muhua's hostile and jealous eyes, Lin He recognized him at a glance and understood what was going on. This cousin is really a stubborn person who always covets things that don't belong to her. As her eyes turned, Lin He had an idea in her mind, and she said with a sweet smile, "So there is a guest." I'll let Honey get some more sleep before we go downstairs. He's been too tired lately. If you have anything to say, lady, please tell me first and I'll pass it on to you. Realizing that Jiang Mouhua didn't recognize her, Lin He began her performance. Seeing Ms. Jiang's livid face, the housekeeper beside her silently gave her a thumbs up. The new wife was amazing. She could make the other party break down with just one sentence. Chapter 6: The Real Mistress. Butler, who is this? Jiang Mouhua did not respond to Lin He's words. He resisted the urge to go forward and grab Huer's face. He asked the housekeeper beside him, deliberately showing how familiar he was with this family. The butler was stumped. The gentleman didn't explain anything yesterday. To be precise, their husband was always circling around the other person and had no time to pay attention to her, but it was also obvious that this was the new hostess. But he couldn't introduce it that way until the gentleman said the title. The housekeeper hesitated and did not answer, which made Jiang Mouhua lose face. Especially when coupled with Lin He's chuckle, the sarcasm value was maxed out, and Jiang Mouhua got so angry that his face turned from blue to red. Lin He's next remarks were even more infuriating. Auntie, are you Honey's elder? What should I address you as? Aunt. Jiang Mouhua felt her head buzzing, and when she saw Lin He straightening his collar, her head buzzed again. You guys slept together. Lin He paused, and following the other person's gaze she realized that the other person had misunderstood. Her hair felt a little itchy on her neck, so she adjusted her collar, revealing the marks left by Jiang Qiao's pinching. Lin He's skin was delicate, and the originally blue marks had turned slightly red and purple. They were faintly visible through the collar, and looked like the traces left by love. Ouch, sorry, I made fun of you, Tilda. Lin He didn't explain. She smiled happily, but inwardly she was cursing Jiang Qiao. She then continued to adjust her collar to cover up the mark. Jiang Mouhua saw the other person's smugness through their mask and thought he was showing off. I felt resentful in my heart. What an uneducated, shameless, damn vixen. Not every woman can enter the Jiang family. You should know yourself and don't make things so ugly that your family members can't hold their heads up. There are so many women who have come before you, but none of them ended up being happy. You will only end up hurting yourself. In the past, Jiang Mouhua always criticized women who had other thoughts about Jiang Qiao in this way. His condescending attitude made many girls pale. Oh. I see, you're Honey's mom. Lin He suddenly realized. The housekeeper was trying to hold back his laughter. Every word the new wife said was so irritating. Wasn't it obvious that she was saying that Ms. Jiang was old-fashioned? Seeing Lin He's look, the housekeeper understood and stepped forward and said, You misunderstood. This is the eldest lady's cousin. Cousin? A cousin from 3,000 miles away? When you said that, I thought she was a serious elder of the Jiang family, but it turns out she is not. Then he muttered loudly for everyone to hear, It's like a pig's nose with a green onion stuck in it. Pretend to be something. Someone couldn't help but burst out laughing. Jiang Mouhua looked around angrily and saw that all the servants were lowering their heads and couldn't find the person who had just laughed. She became even angrier. No one had ever dared to talk to her like that. It has to be said that thanks to the Jiang family, Jiang Mouhua has gained a lot of face outside over the years. Do you believe that I will kick you out? Jiang Mouhua raised his hand and pointed at Lin He. Believe it or not, I'll kick you out, Tilda. Lin He pinched his throat and imitated a sentence, then clapped his hands twice. How powerful and impressive, Tilda. Jiang Mouhua is a man with a lot of words. There are all kinds of women who have feelings for Jiang Qiao, including career women, cute interns, gentle and bookish teachers. Each one of them has a tough or simple personality. Some get angry at the slightest provocation, while others try to scheme against her and say nice things to her. No matter which one they are, Jiang Mouhua is their winner in the end. Because those women didn't get any attention from Jiang Qiao, but she, Jiang Mouhua, could come and go freely in the Jiang family. The twins of the Jiang family were also close to her. This is also her support, and it makes other women outside dare not be too presumptuous to her. In all these years, there has been no one like this vixen in front of me. He is even more childish than this high school student in the first grade of junior high school, and he is so stubborn. It has been a long time since anyone could make Jiang Mouhua so angry. Lin He did it, and it was easy. At this time, footsteps were heard upstairs. It was Jiang Qiao coming downstairs. Jiang Mouhua perked up, quickly put away her sarcastic expression, and said righteously, "Miss, you are really outrageous." Then he looked up at Jiang Qiao and asked, "Where will my sister be after you bring her back?" "She will be back next week. She has been away from home for half a year and the person she misses most is you, her father." Seeing a stranger here, she must feel very uncomfortable. Lin He curled his lips, he really knows how to wave the banner. Jiang Qiao walked down the last step of the stairs just as Jiang Muhua finished speaking. Glancing at the butler beside him, Jiang Qiao said expressionlessly, "Show him away." Upon hearing this, Jiang Muhua glanced at Lin He, feeling proud inside, "See if I can kick you out." Then she was asked to leave. "Ms. Jiang, this way please." Jiang Muhua felt that the housekeeper didn't understand what she said. How could she be the guest who was to be sent away? That woman was. Honey Tilder, who is this person? Can she represent the Jiang family? Lin He sat on the sofa and waved to Jiang Qiao. At the end of the sentence, she said with a tense face, "She wants to kick me out. She is not an important person, and she cannot represent the Jiang family. You have the final say in this family, and only you can drive people away." Lin He is a dramatic actor, and Jiang Qiao is his best partner. Others cannot keep up with Lin He's emotional outbursts, only Jiang Qiao can cooperate with him tacitly. Of course, this is also Jiang Qiao's true words. Jiang Muhua was stunned. He was so shocked that he was half pushed out of the villa by the housekeeper and stood at the door for 3 minutes before he came to his senses. Oh my god! That vixen was extremely cunning and was completely won over by Jiang Qiao. This was something Jiang Muhua had never expected. Knowing that she would get nothing good if she went back in, she took out her cell phone and called Chu Yi. For the first time, Jiang Muhua felt threatened. This little goblin was different from the previous women. "I have to put on some eye drops on the first day of the new year. In the villa. It seems that Mr. Jiang has been very lucky in recent years." Jiang Qiao felt terrible in his heart, thinking that Jiang Muhua must have said something nonsense. "What, Mr. Jiang? He, I'm Honey." As they were talking, Jiang Qiao took the opportunity to sit next to Lin He and be close to him. All these years Jiang Qiao, who was about to prove his innocence, was interrupted by a phone call. The landline in the living room rang. Lin He raised his chin, motioning Jiang Qiao to answer the call first. "Never mind, our business is more important, Tilda." Lin He said nothing, just looked at Jiang Qiao quietly. In less than 3 seconds, Jiang Qiao gave in and obediently went to get the phone. As soon as he said, "Hello," Jiangan's cold voice came from the microphone. "Let her answer it." Chapter 7: Son vs. Mother. Madness is contagious, otherwise Jiangan couldn't understand why he would actually take his hair for testing. As he grew older, Jiangan gradually accepted the fact that his mother would not come back, although he didn't say it out loud. "I thought I had forgotten the memories, but when I recalled them I suddenly found that every one of them was extremely clear. How much memory does a 6-year-old have? Too many. He remembers his mother making pinyin cards for him, taking him to the zoo, and every idiom story his mother told him." Jiangan sat on the sofa in a daze, as if he could not feel the passage of time. All he could see before his eyes were memories of the past. The feeling of being in another world made him feel empty inside. "That woman looks so much like my mother, even the tone of her voice when she calls baby is exactly the same." This brings back more and more memories. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Jiangan received an email and the expedited test report came out. He told himself that he was only doing the test to see what the woman was up to. But the trembling of his fingertips when he touched the screen revealed his restless heart. There is tension only when there is expectation. Perhaps there really are miracles in this world. When he opened the email, a miracle happened. Jiangan's computer crashed. He slowed down again, and he himself couldn't tell what kind of mood he was in. The report was placed before him, and disbelief was surging in his heart. Jiangan picked up his phone and called the old house. "Baby, it's Mommy. Where are you? Mommy will come find you and we can talk in person, okay?" Hearing the familiar voice, Jiangan's eyelashes trembled slightly, and he tried his best to control his voice so that it would not tremble. "I'll be back at noon. He's going to go check it out." "Okay, Mom will wait for you." Jiangan hung up the phone directly and went to the bathroom with his hands and feet together. The person is awake, but his thoughts are wandering. He needs to think about it carefully. Lin He was very happy when she received the call, because she knew her son must have seen the test report. Jiang Qiao poured cold water on him, and Lin is a very cautious person. Even if there is more evidence, he won't believe it if he thinks it's unreasonable. Lin He's smile froze, and he folded his arms and snorted at Jiang Qiao, and wasn't this awkward when she was a child. Anyway, she is genuine and can stand the test. Lin He stood up, looked down at Jiang Qiao and said, "We will settle your account later. Anan likes the sweet and sour pork ribs I make the best. I'm going to go cook." After saying that, he walked towards the kitchen and ignored Jiang Qiao. Jiang Qiao had a sour face. He also likes sweet and sour pork ribs. He used to say that he was the favorite in the family, but it turned out that she was lying. Just as Jiang Qiao said, Jiangan did not recognize Lin He when he returned home. He still maintained the attitude of keeping people at a distance. Lin He was not sad. She had prepared herself mentally when she was busy in the kitchen. The child needed some time to accept the situation. "Anan, I made your favorite sweet and sour pork ribs." Lin He ignored his son's cold face and smiled as he beckoned him to the dining table. Jiangan stood there without moving. "I want to talk to you alone." Lin He was stunned for a moment, then took off her apron and walked towards the sink, saying, "Okay, go to the study and wait for me, I'll be there soon." Jiangan nodded and went to the study. He never even glanced at Jiang Qiao, who was sitting on the sofa in the living room, let alone greet him. Jiang Qiao was not surprised at all and didn't seem to think there was anything wrong with it. In the study, Lin He and Jiangan sat face to face. "You're obviously not afraid of bugs, so why are you pretending to be scared?" Jiangan's question was irrelevant. Lin He smiled and said, "When you were 5 years old, you would scream and jump 3 meters away when you saw a bug. At that time, I thought, if there are girls who scream in fear when they see bugs in the future, you can't compete with them to see who screams louder, right? My son must be the hero who saves the girl. I pretended to be scared, and you would stand in front of me and say, 'Mom, I will protect you,' and then you would pick up the bug and throw it away. During that time, I asked Aunt Wang to find a lot of bugs and put them on the road we had to pass. You also went from being timid about bugs to being fearless." Jiangan listened to Lin He's words, and his tense expression gradually relaxed. He asked this question because he remembered a fragment. "When I was little, I cried and said I wanted to make all the bugs in the world disappear. My mother looked at me with a worried face and said, 'War 1111, what will you do if you fall in love?' Apparently this is right." Jiangan asked a lot of questions about his childhood. Most of his memories of his mother over the years were fragmentary, without any cause or effect. Hearing Lin He talk about the past answered many of the doubts in his memory. The image of the mother also becomes more three-dimensional. Of course, Lin He didn't remember everything clearly. There were a few things that Jiangan said that Lin He had no impression of and couldn't say anything. "Anan, do you believe me?" Lin He clasped her hands together unconsciously. She felt nervous. Jiangan pursed his lips. "I don't know." Lin He actually felt more stable because of this answer. His son was willing to express his true emotions, which meant he accepted it. "I need to think about it again, so I'll leave first." After saying that, Jiangan quickly left the study and walked out of the villa, as if he was afraid of being caught. Jiangan already had a vague belief in Lin He's identity, but he didn't know what attitude and mentality he should adopt to face it. He couldn't hug his mother's thighs and act like a spoiled child like he did when he was a child. The passage of 15 years has brought so much strangeness and alienation. Jiangan's mind was too confused and he needed to calm down. Lin He understood his son, but still couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. No agreement. Jiang Qiao, who had just been working on the phone on the balcony, walked over to Lin He and saw his son driving away. It's normal for a child to be unable to accept the sudden appearance of his mother who had been missing for 15 years and brought a fantasy time travel story. It's not just a question of acceptance or not, the mother and son also need a new way to get along with each other. Lin He sighed, her baby was no longer 6 years old. Jiang Qiao held Lin He in his arms and comforted him. "It's okay, it's just a matter of time, my son will accept it sooner or later." Jiang Qiao pulled out a chair for Lin He to sit down. He turned around and saw the dishes on the table, and his words suddenly stopped. "Where's the sweet and sour pork ribs?" The maid brought the last dish to the table and explained, "We packed it for the young master and put it in the car." Lin He instructed this before going to the study. Her intuition told her that her son would not stay for dinner, so she asked the chef to pack the sweet and sour pork ribs into a lunchbox and put it in Jiangen's car. She was quite prescient. After hearing Lin He's explanation, Jiang Qiao said, "Oh," and smiled as he served Lin He some dishes and soup. On the surface, it seemed like nothing had happened, but in reality, the villain in his heart was already crying while biting his handkerchief. "If I had known earlier, I would have stopped my son." Lin He noticed Jiang Qiao's mood and raised her lips slightly. "Want to eat her cooking? Let's see how she performs in the future." Chapter 8: A Broken Pot. Jiang Qiao had to go to the company in the afternoon. He wanted to take Lin He with him, but Lin He didn't want to. She preferred to stay at home. In the end, Jiang Qiao couldn't persuade Lin He, so he had to go to the company by himself. When he left, he gave Lin He all kinds of instructions, even down to where she put her hair tie. In the end, the man was pushed away by Lin He, and if he was allowed to speak for another half an hour. Lin He complained in his heart that Qiao Qiao was still so nagging. Lin He had her own plans for not following Jiang Qiao to the company. After watching Jiang Qiao's car leave the villa, she invited the housekeeper to the study. "Did the housekeeper come to the Jiang family 10 years ago?" "Yes, m." The butler replied respectfully. At noon, Jiang Qiao told the housekeeper that from now on, Lin He would have the final say in the family. This was officially announced, and Lin He was the rightful mistress of the Jiang family. "How is the relationship between you and the children over the years?" Lin He asked straight to the point. When Jiangen came over, the father and son had no communication at all, which made Lin He's heart sink again. How could the conflict between father and son be so deep? Jiang Qiao spoke lightly about this and brushed it off as a misunderstanding. Lin He felt that he was hiding something from her. "Madam, when I came to the Jiang family, the two young masters and the young lady were no longer living at home, and the master rarely came back on weekdays." The housekeeper did not lie. The most lively time for this family was the 2 days when Lin He came back. In the past, when Jiang Qiao came back, he would go directly to the room where the lady lived on the 3rd floor. He would stay there for a whole day, and then leave for several days without coming back. This would repeat over and over again. The eldest son never stays overnight when he comes back, while the eldest daughter and the youngest son come back occasionally and mostly stay in houses near the school. This old house really doesn't feel like home. Lin He held his forehead with his hand when he heard this. He was so heartbroken. Lin He, who has accepted the reality, is no longer sad about the situation. It doesn't matter, she is back. Finding that she couldn't get the information she wanted from the housekeeper, Lin He was about to tell the housekeeper that he could leave when she heard him say in a very relieved tone, "Madam, I only saw Mr. Smile after you came. This is the first time in 10 years that I've seen Mr. Smile so happily." The quote from the domineering boss when Guanjia arrives late. Lin He's mouth twitched as she rejected the bloody plot of a domineering president falling in love with her. Usually in this kind of stories, the original wife doesn't have a good ending. On the other side, the stretched business car was driving on the road. Jiang Qiao was flipping through documents in the car. His expressionless face made the two special assistants sitting on the other side quite nervous. In the company, President Jiang doesn't need to put on any expression when scolding his subordinates, or even scold them at all. He just points out the problem calmly, and a stern look is enough to make the person who made the mistake sweat profusely and dare not do it again next time. Some people don't need to release their aura deliberately, just their presence is enough to make them irresistible without words. What the butler said was not a compliment, he really meant it from the bottom of his heart. The Jiang Qiao beside Lin He looked different than anyone in the company, and even more so than the housekeepers and servants at home. Now Jiang Qiao's Chunliang is a Lin He limited edition, and no one else can get any of it, including his own son. Jiang Qiao called Jiangen and said, "Don't disturb her these days." "Oh, what are you afraid of?" Jiangen, who was inexplicably asked, wanted to make a few more sarcastic remarks, but he heard the other party's voice on the phone said calmly, "If you want her to disappear again, then make a fuss." Jiangen stopped talking abruptly and his face turned pale. "Until we figure out what's going on, no one can predict what will happen." Jiangen didn't say anything. Silence was his answer. Jiang Qiao understood and then hung up the phone. The call ended. Rubbing his nose, Jiang Qiao said in a deep voice, "Notify all department managers to hold a meeting at 2 p.m. Special assistant should be At this moment, the cell phone message sound rang, and Jiang Qiao immediately picked it up to check. After asking the housekeeper, their wife went back to her room and went to sleep. Jiang Qiao exhaled slowly and looked out the window with his pupils as dark as ink. No matter whether it was metaphysical or man-made, he would never let He disappear a second time. Whether Jiangan admits it or not, he admits it. When Jiang Qiao saw Lin He crying in the bathroom, he already believed that He had returned. What exactly happened behind the scenes needs to be investigated. He can't bear to lose her a second time. The two special assistants on the side looked at each other. Although they didn't know what was going on, they felt that President Jiang suddenly became so scary. Lin He did not take a nap after returning to her room. Instead, she logged into her social media account. WeChat, Weibo, email. After meeting her oldest son, she began to sort out her life. After disappearing for 15 years, I could be declared dead in the legal sense. I must not be too hasty when reappearing in public. It's okay to talk about time traveling 15 years with your family, but you definitely can't tell outsiders about it, or they'll probably think you're crazy. Jiang Qiao had kept all of Lin He's accounts very well, and she could log in as usual without any of them being cancelled or frozen. The mobile phone card she was using now also had a number from 15 years ago. After logging into WeChat, I saw a new unread message, which was a 3-word message from Hu Dai sent a week ago. I miss you so much. Hu Dai was Lin He's college roommate. After graduation, the two started a cosmetics company together. I don't know what the company's current situation is. Thinking of this, Lin He exited WeChat and logged into Weibo, searching for Hu Dai's Weibo ID. The other party's followers have grown from 100,000 to more than 5 million. His Weibo profile says he is the chairman of Beijing Cosmetics Company, so the company should be doing well. To be more precise, their relationship is a partnership. Lin He is the investor. It seems that I had quite a business acumen back then. Soon, Lin He couldn't laugh anymore. Because when she clicked on Hu Dai's Weibo comments, all she saw were curses. After searching based on the keywords mentioned in the comments, Lin He found out the reason. A product under Beijing Beauty had a major failure, with various problems and exceeding standards. The quality of the product is not the point. The point is why this car accident affected her, a person who has been missing for 15 years. In the popular square of the Beijing Cosmetics failure entry, there is a popular Weibo post that reveals information, which describes the initial development history of Beijing. The article indicates that the failed product was a recipe provided by another founder, who passed away unexpectedly many years ago. For the sake of friendship and commemoration, Mr. Hu continued to retain this production line even though it was not profitable. Unexpectedly, something went wrong with the recipe, blah blah. The main text of the Weibo post emphasized that the formula of this product has not changed in more than 10 years, and also implied that Mr. Hu was badly cheated by his partners. Lin He was silent. Wasn't the angle of whitewashing too tricky? She's been missing for 15 years, how can she be brought out again? Coincidentally, just as Lin He read the whole story, Hu Dai posted an apology on Weibo, sincerely admitting her mistake. Then the text version of her interview also came out. Although it was not stated explicitly, the tone of the words was consistent with the meaning of the whistleblower Weibo. Mr. Hu is good, and the other partner is bad. Lin He. As soon as I come back, I get blamed. She provided no recipe at all. Chapter 9 sends you to the hot search. This incident didn't make it to the big searches. If Lin He hadn't specifically searched for the entry, he wouldn't have known about it. In addition, Beijing responded quickly to the public relations crisis, apologized and compensated promptly, etc., so netizens had less rebellious psychology towards it and did not spread the news everywhere. But this matter could not disappear without a trace, and everyone's dissatisfaction was directed at Lin He. Netizens don't know the identity of the other partner, but they found Lin He's account. At that time, Hu Dai posted a Weibo with @Lin He, and every year Hu Dai would leave a message under the birthday Weibo automatically generated by Lin He's account, so netizens easily found it out. The partner with the ID He Miao Ching Ching is the scumbag. Hu Dai has lived a good life in recent years. She is a true inspirational heroine, and her career success has made netizens admire her highly. Those who admire Hu Dai spared no effort to shift the blame for the product failure to Lin He, and guided netizens to vent their dissatisfaction with the matter in order to whitewash Hu Dai. When netizens saw Lin He's Weibo post with Hu Dai's birthday wishes every year, they believed the revelations to some extent, cursed that the evil-hearted person should die soon, turned around, ate the melon, and left. I thought things would calm down, but then a turning point came. Star-chasing netizens all have an app that displays the latest updates of their idols, including when they go online on Weibo, who they leave messages and likes, etc. One netizen was shocked to find that Lin He's Weibo account was online. And it's always online. So is this account the one of the deceased partner? If the person is dead, who logged into the account? Judging from the app, it has only been online today in the past 15 years. Is it too unfair, so the ghost appeared? If someone logs into this account, then the claims of Huda's fans will not hold water. You are too naive, this is just a PR trick. No matter what, if there is a problem with the product, it is the CEO's fault. Why is she trying to shirk responsibility? The calm situation was disturbed again. Lin He. She had not expected the sudden turn of events. So what role did Huda play in this matter? Lin He sneered. She had to get used to the fact that her world had changed. Co-founding Beijing cosmetics company with Huda was not Lin He's main business. She was a little-known cartoonist back then, and her work Weibo account as a cartoonist still receives messages from fans. It's a pity that she suddenly retired from the entertainment industry. Not only was her family broken, her career was also in a mess due to 15 years of stagnation. When Lin He was feeling emotional, his cell phone beeped twice and a private message came in on Weibo. Mr. Jiang, did you log into He's Weibo? Don't worry about the online matter, I will handle it. The PR manager acted on his own and implicated He. It was too late when I found out. I'm sorry. Beijing is He's hard work. This time it was my fault for not managing it properly. I am sorry for He crying. There are too many things going on with the foreign agent, and Pierre is a very difficult person to deal with. I didn't take this into consideration in China, so I didn't expect this to happen. Sigh. As he read on, Lin He felt something was not right. Is Huda trying to get benefits from Jiang Qiao by stepping on her? She said that Beijing was her hard work, and that she had been in trouble recently, and she also mentioned who the difficult person was. Lin He even suspected that the PR was leading her to this, and that Huda was deliberately using this as a way to talk to Jiang Qiao. In my memory, Huda was a silly girl, but now she has changed. She could even say that Beijing was her blood and blood. Regarding Beijing Cosmetics Company, Huda is more concerned about the management, while Lin He is mainly responsible for collecting the money. It can't really be said that it was a lot of hard work. The year she graduated was when she had the most money, and she invested in too many companies at will, and Beijing was just one of them. Lin He's mother was an international collector. She died of cancer when Lin He was in junior high school. She left Lin He a large inheritance, with the condition that he could only use it after graduating from college. Therefore, Beijing Cosmetics Company is not Lin He's hard work at all, it is Huda who is adding drama to it. Lin He didn't reply. He threw the phone aside, lay on the bed, and looked at the ceiling. After a long while, she let out a long sigh. Life is really terrible 15 years later. Home is no longer home and friends are no longer friends. Fortunately, Zhao Qiao hasn't changed. Lin He turned over, picked up his phone and sent a message to Jiang Qiao, "What are you doing?" In the Jiang Group building, the conference room was full of people. The atmosphere was solemn and quiet. The only sound that could be heard was the person sitting in the first seat flipping through papers. Jiang Qiao closed the folder and threw it in the middle of the conference table. He glanced coldly at the middle-aged man in a blue suit on his left and said, "Is this the emergency plan you came up with?" The man's forehead was covered with sweat. He wanted to explain something, but he remembered that Mr. Jiang didn't like to hear excuses, so he swallowed and said, "Mr. Jiang, please give me another 2 hours, and I will submit a new plan that satisfies you." "No need, Lemon, you take over." "Okay, Mr. Jiang." The man in the blue suit turned pale in an instant. This time, before Jiang Qiao could finish his words, he heard a ding, which was the message alert sound on his cell phone. Everyone's heart died at this moment. They were afraid that the sound came from their own mobile phones. What is the difference between doing it at this point in time and pulling out teeth from a tiger's mouth? Then, everyone saw Mr. Jiang turn on his cell phone. How to describe Mr. Jiang's expression? Suddenly, a spring breeze comes. The face that was still frosty a second ago suddenly warmed up. Not only that, the slightly raised arc at the corner of the mouth, is it, a smile? A bold young manager who had just been promoted took a sneak peek and caught that smile. "I'm in a meeting. I'll be home soon. I miss you, Tilda." Jiang Qiao was of course happy. The main reason why Lin He sent this message was that she missed him. "The meeting is adjourned." After closing the phone, Jiang Qiao said it quite straightforwardly. After finishing the serious business, he didn't want to say any more words of lecturing because someone was waiting for him at home. After making sure that Jiang Qiao had left the meeting room and turned the corner of the corridor, everyone started talking. Vice President Hu, who was wearing a blue suit, looked like he had survived a disaster. "I don't know who sent that message, but I can't express my gratitude enough. He wishes the other person good fortune and a long life." Vice President Hu clasped his hands together, looking quite pious. After leaving the meeting room, Jiang Qiao took the elevator directly to the underground garage and drove home. A 3-word message asking, "What are you doing?" made Jiang Qiao eager to return home. On their way back, the special assistant reported the situation on the internet. In the 15 years since Lin He disappeared, Jiang Qiao conducted a comprehensive search, not only on the Pacific Island, but also on the internet. He would not let go of any news that might be related to Lin He. After Jiang Qiao returned home, he told Lin He about this matter. The focus was on talking to Lin He about Hu Dai. Chapter 10. The Missy is back. Hu Dai got married the year after the Lin He plane crash, divorced 3 years later, and has been single ever since. The person she married was also known to Lin He, who was their college classmate Lin Bai. After the divorce, Hu Dai focused on her career and ran the North Star Cosmetics company successfully. In the second year after her divorce, she proposed to buy back the shares in your name. Hu Dai used Lin He to play the emotional card, saying that this was also Lin He's hope for her, blah blah, and Jiang Qiao agreed. "She has received a lot of benefits from me over the years." Jiang Qiao hugged Lin He, lowered his head and rubbed his cheek against hers, and said in a pitiful voice, "Every time she asks for something, she will mention you and tell you things about you that I don't know. She thought she hid her intentions well, but I just cooperated because I wanted to hear your story." In the past 15 years, everything related to Lin He was healing to Jiang Qiao. He, "I told you about Hu Dai because I wanted you to be mentally prepared. You are still you, but the friends around you may not be the same as you remember. All that was just a prelude." Jiang Qiao was subtly telling Lin He that he should be on guard against his friends now. Once bitten by a snake, one will be afraid of ropes for 10 years. Jiang Qiao did not dare to speak out because he was afraid of Lin He's temper. Because of his friend's problem, he was almost dumped. To put it simply, Jiang Qiao doesn't like all the male friends around Lin He. Lin He doesn't have any ambiguity with any of them, it's just that Jiang Qiao is jealous. At first, Lin He coaxed him, thinking it was just a little hobby of theirs. But later, Jiang Qiao became more and more excessive, and Lin He stopped indulging him. Jiang Qiao still remembers what Lin He said. "Jiang Qiao, I love you, but if this love comes at the cost of losing myself, then my love for you will become cheap, and then I will stop loving you." Lin He said it lightly at the time, but Jiang Qiao was frightened. From then on, he dared not say anything about Lin He's making friends. Therefore, when he mentioned Hu Dai, Lin He's best friend in college, he spoke step by step and chose his words carefully. "Don't dare to be harsh in your tone of negotiation. I know. I read what happened online." Lin He touched Jiang Qiao's face, then handed him the phone. The screen showed the content of Hu Dai's private message. "I don't want to be used by her anymore." Lin He nestled in Jiang Qiao's arms, her tone somewhat depressed. For her, the dinner appointment with Hu Dai was just a few days ago, but in the blink of an eye, everything has changed. She was also used as an emotional ATM by Hu Dai for 15 years, and she continued to benefit from Jiang Qiao. "Okay, I'll listen to He. Come to think of it, how can I explain my sudden appearance? To be honest, people will definitely think I'm crazy. No need to explain." Jiang Qiao hugged Lin He and patted him gently, speaking slowly, "If outsiders ask, you don't need to explain anything to them. You can say that you have been recuperating abroad for these years, or you can say some other reasons. You don't need to give them any explanation." Lin He sat up straight and looked at Jiang Qiao, holding his face with both hands and said, "The sky is falling down. I'll take care of it." Jiang Qiao continued with the second half of the sentence, and the two smiled at each other, as if they were back in the afternoons at university when there were no classes, and the two of them lay on the grass in the playground, watching the clouds roll by and unfold in their leisurely days. Jiao Qiao, I'm glad you haven't changed. I'm glad I have you. Lin He jumped forward and hugged Jiang Qiao's neck, swaying back and forth softly and coquettishly. Jiang Qiao smiled and hugged back, lowering his head and burying it in Lin He's neck, full of affection. Beneath the feathery eyelashes, the deep eyes were dark and inexplicably dark. Lin He was very busy for the next few days as she was adapting to the world 15 years later. In today's technologically advanced society, a big change happens every 3 to 5 years, let alone after 15. Every aspect feels novel to Lin He, and he can't help but sigh at the progress of technology. She was like a new player in the game, following the NPC Jiang Qiao to explore the novice village. Lin He was also waiting for his eldest son to contact him, but Jiang seemed to have disappeared. Lin He couldn't help but want to call his son, but was stopped by Jiang Qiao. Anin is working on a project with his tutor recently and is very busy. When Lin He heard this, she decided to wait until her son finished his work and not rush into it. It was she who was anxious. A week passed like this. I returned home on the first day of the new year. In fact, she should have come back 2 days later on the first day of the new year, but she left school early, mainly to catch the woman off guard so that she wouldn't have to be prepared. Chu was confused when she failed to get 8 million yuan. She never thought that her request for money would be rejected by her father. Chu spent money lavishly and had no habit of saving. Jiang Qiao usually gave her a sum of money, and she would spend it as she pleased, and ask for more when it was all gone. So if she wanted to spend 8 million to buy a car, she could only allocate money from her father because she didn't have enough money on hand. When she was puzzled by her father's refusal, she received a call from her cousin and learned that her father had found a new lover and that her inability to get the money was also related to the new lover. This week, I didn't sleep well on the first day of the new year. She asked around with people in the same circle around her, and found out that many of them had fathers who found stepmothers, and after the stepmothers gave birth to children, they sowed discord in various ways, using many disgusting methods. Chu couldn't stay any longer, she had to go back to take a look. Just after landing at the airport, Chu received a call from Han Zun before he could go home. As soon as the call was connected, a strange voice came from the microphone. In the private room on the second floor of my restaurant, in less than an hour, Han Zun's leg was broken. What? How dare you? I'm coming over now. Chu hurriedly took a taxi and left, his eyes red with anxiety. I blocked her. I guess she thought it was you who did it. Anyway, I don't want to bother with her. Lin He was lying on the rocking chair on the second floor, eating grapes, looking cute and innocent. It was Jiang Qiao on the other end of the phone. After accompanying Lin He to rest for a few days, the company's documents had piled up like a mountain and he had to go back to work. The domineering CEO who has free time only exists in novels, movies and TV dramas. In reality, the workload of the domineering CEO is simply too much. How can he have free time when he is in charge of the jobs of the entire group of employees? Jiang Qiao will have to come back late today because he has to work overtime. The two talked about Hu Dai. Maybe because Hu Dai didn't reply to the private message on Weibo, she sent a message to Jiang Qiao on WeChat. Jiang Qiao didn't want to respond and asked Lin He if he could block her. Of course Lin He had no objection, she had already blocked him. After talking to Jiang Qiao for a while, Lin He went back to the room to take a nap after hanging up. As soon as I lay down, the housekeeper knocked on the door. Madam, the young lady has returned to China. The police station in Xing'an district called and asked someone to bail her out. Because Jiang Qiao said that Lin He was in charge of all household affairs, the housekeeper who received the call thought about it again and decided to ask the new wife for instructions. Upon hearing this, Lin He sat up suddenly, and his sleepiness disappeared instantly. Return to the country. Police station. Bail? This word combined is really quite unsettling. Madam, do you want me to report to their husband? Asked the housekeeper. Lin He shook her head. Jiang Qiao came here to bail someone out, which was no different from her going there. Lin He has made plans these days. The three children have different personalities, and Anan's way of recognizing each other is not suitable for twin siblings. She dared to say that even if she plucked out all her hair, she would not take the twins for DNA testing. Even if the DNA report was placed in front of them, they might think it was fake. No, I'll take care of it. She went to see what was going on first. Chapter 11, Love Brain Without Money. Blood relationship is a magical thing. There were more than 10 teenagers detained in the police station, and 4 or 5 of them were girls. But Lin He could tell at a glance that the girl with curly hair and her back to her was her daughter. The boy on the left with chestnut hair, fair skin and wearing a black t-shirt should be Han Zun, who said on the phone that he would buy him a sports car. Lin He has already figured out the cause and effect of the matter. Han Zun's father owed gambling debts. The debt collector found Han Zun and heard that Chu Yi liked Han Zun, so he wanted Chu Yi to pay off Han Zun's debt. Han Zun was unwilling, so the group snatched the phone and called Chu Yi, who came as soon as he received the news. When Chu Yi arrived at the box, she felt distressed when she saw Han Zun's bruised cheek. She said she could pay back the money, but she had to take revenge, which meant making sure the person who beat Han Zun was punished. Chu Yi had a bad temper, and after he finished speaking, he picked up the bottle of wine to vent his anger on Han Zun. During the quarrel, the restaurant owner realized that something was not right and called the police. These young people don't know how to control their strength when they attack. If someone dies, the restaurant will be closed down. Because they were near a school, there was a police station there, so the police came quickly and took the group of people away for questioning. The group that beat people up were old hands and had their own excuses when facing the police. Chu Yi was also afraid that the matter would get out of hand and affect Han Zun. Both sides tried to whitewash the situation and the police station just gave them a lecture. Because Chu Yi was a minor, the police station called his parents to come and pick him up, and Chu Yi gave the housekeeper's number. When the police saw Lin He, they thought she was Chu Yi's sister. Although they didn't say it explicitly, their words implied that they wanted the family to keep an eye on the child and limit her contact with idle people in society. Lin He signed the document and the police brought her to see Chu Yi. Jiang Suichao, your family is here. Chu Yi is her nickname, her real name is Jiang Suichao. Lin He heard her daughter ask inside, "Am I the only one here?" She had clearly asked the housekeeper to bail both herself and Han Zun out. Han Zun's mother was in poor health. What if she came to the police station to pick up her son and got seriously ill? Yes, come out quickly, the police urged. Chu Yi glanced at Han Zun beside him and said in a low voice, "Wait a minute, I'll go out and bail you out too." Lin He saw her daughter talking to Han Zun from the window, her eyes full of concern, while the person opposite her was looking at the ground sullenly, without even raising his head. Lin He narrowed his eyes. As soon as the name Han Zun was mentioned on the phone that day, she went to find out about this person. Han Zun is junior high school's high school classmate. He comes from an ordinary family, is an excellent student, and is a school idol. Junior high school takes good care of Han Zun at school, saying that she regards Han Zun as her best buddy, but the little girl's thoughts are very obvious. How could one hide the fact that one likes someone? Everyone could see that he had a crush on her in the first grade of junior high school, but no one dared to reveal it. Unfortunately, the beauty of campus romance mostly exists only in novels. In Lin He's opinion, Han Zun is not as simple as he seems. But this remains to be verified. Having all been through youth, Lin He knew that the most taboo thing at this time was to break up a couple. Especially for a mother like her who suddenly appeared and had no feelings, it is unacceptable for her to be so bossy. "Butler, where is Han Zun?" After leaving the house, Chu Yi was so anxious that he asked the housekeeper to bail out Han Zun. "What are you hesitating about? Can't you hear me?" Chu Yi stomped her feet in anger and found that the housekeeper was looking behind her. She turned around and noticed Lin He. "My memory of my mother was not clear when I was a kid. I saw her appearance in photos, but as time went by, I gradually lost track of her." She didn't see anything special about Lin He, and even wondered in her heart, which gangster's family member was this young girl from. Good bamboo shoots come from bad bamboo, and their temperament and appearance are really extraordinary. After taking a look for a while, Chu Yi looked away indifferently and wanted to continue urging the housekeeper, but she heard the housekeeper respectfully calling the girl she had just seen "Madam." Chu Yi's expression cracked. "Madam? It's not what she thought." Lin He nodded to the housekeeper, indicating that he could leave. As for bailing out Han Zun, he was sorry as he did not have the habit of taking care of other people's children. Lin He, who passed by Chu Yi, was walking in front, followed by the housekeeper. Chu Yi watched Lin He's back getting farther and farther away, and when she saw Lin He disappearing around the corner, she jogged to catch up with him. "Damn, why is this woman here?" Chu Yi felt that she was being laughed at and insulted, and was very unhappy. She was already a head shorter than her before they even started fighting. Seeing Lin He got into the business car that her father often rode, she followed him and sat in the back seat. You married my dad. The title of Madam shocked Chui so much that Hanzun was forgotten about. After receiving Jiang Muhua's call, Chui thought his father just had a girlfriend. Although she asked people around her what it would be like to have a stepmother in the family, she didn't think her father would marry someone so soon. She thought too simply. The housekeeper called her madam, so why bother about whether she could enter the house or not? You returned home so suddenly that there's no food prepared at home. Shall we go to a nearby restaurant to eat something? Who wants to have dinner with you? Before he could even utter a rebuttal, his stomach growled and choked him. Hey! Hanzun is still in the police station. Stop the car. Chu Yi slapped her thigh suddenly, blaming this woman for making her forget about Hanzun. The driver did not stop the car, but looked at Lin He's expression in the rearview mirror. Now everyone in the old house would know that the person they had to obey was Lin He. This was instructed by the gentleman himself. The housekeeper also made his meaning very clear. If someone thinks that he has been in the Jiang family for a long time and has face in front of the young masters and young ladies, he will use this to bully others in front of the mistress. Then just collect your salary and leave. I won't tolerate it this time. With this understanding, everyone in the old house was very attentive to the new wife. The treatment at Jiang's house was so good that they didn't want to leave. Chu Yi noticed the driver's action and her eyes widened. What on earth was going on? Why did these people listen to this woman so much? When we went there, the police had already contacted Hanzun's mother, so there was no need to go through the trouble of bailing him out. Lin He explained. Chu Yi suddenly remembered that after entering the police station, Hanzun's cell phone rang. It must be his mother calling. Oh. Now that Aunt Han knows about it, it doesn't matter whether she is released on bail or not. Lin He smiled. The fact that her daughter forgot about Hanzun because she was shocked by her existence showed that Hanzun was not that important and she did not love him to death. He is a little lovesick, but he can be saved. For example, now, after knowing that Hanzun does not need bail, Chu Yi no longer hesitated and instead continued to ask about the previous topic. You and my dad got a marriage certificate. We are now legally married. Lin He still didn't answer. She brought up something else. I didn't allow Xiao Xiao to transfer the 8 million to you. I was also the one who drove your cousin away when she came to Jiang's house. From now on, your pocket money limit will be set. If you don't have a reasonable explanation for the extra expenses, I won't transfer you money. The first day of the new year is like being struck by lightning. The stepmother is really vicious, even more vicious than her friends say. Chapter 12. What do you call my dad? Chu Yi was so angry that his chin was shaking. He had a lot of things he wanted to say, but what he blurted out in the end was, you actually called me Dad Xiao Xiao. Lin He thought her daughter's focus was cute. Chu Yi's facial features resemble her father's, but compared to Jiang Qiao's sharp profile, she has a baby face. Her eyes widen when she is surprised, just like the dazed expression she had when she was a child, blowing bubbles with her saliva. Before meeting her daughter, Lin He thought a lot about what she would do if her daughter became spoiled and unable to distinguish right from wrong. After seeing Chu Yi, she felt that she had preconceived ideas. The impression given by that phone call means nothing. It's not a problem to have a spoiled personality, and it's okay for a girl to have a little princess temperament. At the moment, Lin He feels more about his daughter's advantages. He clearly didn't like her, but he didn't say anything bad to her, and his resistance was weak, which showed that he didn't often attack others. The eyes are the windows to the soul. A clear gaze has no hostility. Even if one is angry, it is naive and innocent, making one look very deceptive. Regardless of whether there is a biological mother filter or not, Lin He thinks her daughter is very good. As long as her roots are not bad, everything else can be taught. Xiao Xiao likes this name very much. Lin He said this with a smile, and the more he looked at his daughter, the more he liked her. Just like Jiangan, he is my own child. Don't think I will like you just because you smile like this. Why do you care how much money my father gives me? As long as I am here, you will never be able to become the mistress of the Jiang family. Chu Yi thought his harsh words were very powerful. She felt that when Lin He heard her rejection, his face would turn pale, and then he would explain that he was in true love and go for the cute little white flower route. But it was no use. She was not someone who could be easily deceived. She was not the kind of silly girl who would be taken advantage of by her stepmother. But I am already the mistress of the Jiang family. How to defeat the psychological preparation of the first grade in junior high school with just one sentence. Arrogant. Too arrogant. That's because I didn't express my opinion to Dad. If I had, you would have been kicked out by Dad. While saying these words, the car drove into the Jiang residence. Lin He looked calm and composed with a faint smile, and was not affected by Chu Yi's words at all. Don't you think I'm kidding you? You know which is more important, a blood-related daughter or a woman outside, without me telling you, right? You have entered the Jiang family's gate now, but can you stand firmly? I tell you, not steadily. Lin He was walking in front, and Chu Yi was following behind her and talking non-stop. By the time they entered the study, Chu Yi's mouth was dry from talking, and he pinched his waist and said loudly like an ultimatum, "Anyway, don't think about it." As soon as she finished speaking, a photo frame was stuffed into her arms. Who told you to take my mother's photo? Chu Yi said angrily and walked to the cabinet to put the photo frame away again. When I was a child, I could often see my mother's photos, but I don't know when my father put them away. She saw it less often, but she still remembered this photo frame. It was originally placed on the cabinet on the left side of the living room. Chu Yi, do you still remember your mother? My mother died when I was 2 years old. What impression do I have? Chu Yi paused in the middle of his muttering, glared at Lin He and snorted, "Why am I telling you this? Stop asking about my mom. There's no comparison between you and her. I will live at home every day from now on, and you can see if you can live in peace." After saying that, Chu Yi skipped away. She didn't want to waste any more time talking to this woman and would wait until her father came back to talk. Lin He chuckled, "This silly girl." That night, Jiang Qiao worked overtime until 11 o'clock in the evening, and it was almost midnight when he got home. After going downstairs, Chu Chu didn't even go back to his room. He sat in the living room watching TV, just waiting. After taking a 7-hour flight, Chu Yi went to the police station as soon as he returned. Chu Yi was very tired after a busy day, so when Jiang Qiao came back, he saw his daughter curled up on the sofa and fell asleep. After turning off the TV, I could still hear my daughter snoring softly. Chu Yi, wake up and go back to your room to sleep. Chu Yi sat up dazedly, rubbed her eyes and walked to her room. After walking a few steps and waking up, she said, "Dad, why didn't you tell me you had a girlfriend? Everyone in the family calls her madam. Are you married? Have you forgotten about your mother?" Regarding the latter question, Jiang Muhua repeatedly asked Chu Yi to answer it. She said that she must bring up her mother for comparison so that her father would hate that woman. Jiang Qiao knew that Lin He had to conceal his identity first, but he didn't know how Lin He would talk to his daughter today. The less he said, the less mistakes he made, so he simply didn't answer. Seeing that his father didn't say anything, Chu Yi said angrily, "She said that she will not allow me to spend money arbitrarily in the future. There must be a limit. Dad, you have a girlfriend. Can't I buy the things I like in the future?" Speaking of this, Chu Yi felt like he was the poor kid in the cabbage field, with tears in his eyes and feeling extremely aggrieved. Dad will not lack food and clothing for you. Jiang Qiao's words showed his tacit agreement. Chu Yi was about to cry. She didn't expect things to turn out like this. Why would her father stand on the side of the bad woman? She is his biological daughter, isn't she? Although she didn't rely on her father much and didn't have deep feelings for him on a daily basis, when she and an outsider were on the same scale and she was the one who was not chosen, Chu Yi knew what sadness was. How could Dad do this? In my memory of the first year of junior high school, my father was a man who didn't like to laugh. He spoke in a cold tone to everyone and the atmosphere at home was rather serious. Chu Yi didn't think there was anything wrong. The fathers of several of her friends in the circle were even stricter. Most fathers are not good at expressing themselves and do not express their emotions strongly, but their actions are loving and they never restrict their daughters from spending money. Now, Chu Yi can't feel that love anymore. "I hate you." After saying this in a crying voice, Chu Yi ran back to his room. Jiang Qiao's expression remained unchanged, and he showed no emotion towards his daughter's accusations, until he looked up and saw Lin He standing at the stairs, and he instantly became depressed. Chu Yi is having a quarrel with me." Lin He could hear a sense of both grievance and a desire for credit in the tone of the statement. Looking at the man who walked up to her and reached out for a hug, Lin He leaned over softly and rubbed her forehead against Jiang Qiao's chin. There was no need to say words of comfort, just the puppy-like gesture was enough to make the man soften his heart. And he said very consciously, "What to do next, he, just tell me, I will obey you Tilda." Chu-yi ran back to his room and slammed the door. After waiting for a long time, he found that his father did not catch up with him. Did her father really not want her as his daughter anymore? I carefully opened the door a crack, wanting to see if my father had gone back to his room to rest or was standing in the corridor wanting to talk to me but didn't know how to start. It's not like she can't give herself a way out. Chu-yi was thinking this when he opened the door and saw his father and that woman being affectionate at the stairs. She quietly closed the door, heartbroken. Dad was so obsessed with that woman that he lost his soul. He really didn't even want his daughter anymore. Chu-yi felt more and more aggrieved the more he thought about it. He opened his phone, found Jiangen's name, removed him from the blacklist, and then sent him a message. The mother's position at home has been taken by someone else. Jiangen protects his mother the most. If he knew that another woman had entered the house, he would be very angry. He has a good brain, and he can join forces with her to deal with that woman. For the first time, Chu-yi felt powerless in his own home. Chapter 13. I just want to post every day. Hudai felt that her career luck suddenly declined sharply. First it was the issue of the foreign agent. Pierre's attitude had softened, but now he even refused to answer her calls. Then there was another domestic disturbance. The issue of excessive additives had been suppressed, but suddenly a blogger came out and posted a video exposing the issue by name, and the video went viral. All the negative news about the company in recent years has been brought out, and it can no longer be suppressed. Hudai was exhausted and at a loss. She wanted to ask Jiang Xie for help, but she was blocked. Not only that, she found that there was no content on Lin He's Weibo, which meant that he was also blocked. The company's series of troubles did not panic Hudai too much. It was only when she found that she could not contact Jiang Xie that she realized that the situation was serious. Beijing's success today is inseparable from the support of the Jiang Group. It is good to lean on a big tree for shade. Relying on her old relationship with Lin He, she got a lot of benefits from Jiang Qiao. Hudai deliberately brought up the issue of partners regarding additives, intending to use Lin He's name to gain favors and to ask Jiang Qiao to help her build connections abroad. As for Pierre's matter, even if she ran herself ragged, it would not be as effective as a word from Jiang Qiao. Why was she blocked? Did Jiang Qiao know that she was deliberately directing public opinion toward Lin He? Hudai cried out in her heart, "No, this responsibility must be passed on, and the relationship with the Jiang family must be maintained no matter what." Hudai was looking through her phone and her eyes focused on the circle of friends that Chu-yi posted. As Lin He's best friend, Hudai was naturally friendly when meeting her children. After years of contact, Jiangen would also call Hudai Auntie Hu when he saw her. Usually Hudai would give Chu-yi some small gifts that girls like, and they kept in touch with each other. "Chu-yi, are you back home? I haven't seen you become more beautiful in a long time Tilda." Hudai commented on Chu-yi's circle of friends. Others could not understand the deep meaning of Chu-yi's post on WeChat Moments, but if Lin He saw it, he would know what was going on. To assert sovereignty. The photo shows the courtyard view taken from the balcony of the first-grade room, and there is also a selfie of her. The copy reads two words, "My home." Less than a minute after Hudai posted her comment, Chu-yi responded, "Yes, I'm back home." Seeing that Chu-yi replied so quickly, Hudai opened the chat box and sent a voice message to Chu-yi, asking about her recent life and saying that she would go out for dinner when she was free. These are not the main points. Hudai also asked around about Jiang Qiao's mood, whether he was at home, etc. Hudai was very good at the art of language, so she made these inquiries in a subtle way that Chu-yi didn't even notice. But the first day of the new year also has its own little tricks. Aunt Hu, the Zhao family has invited Dad to a birthday party the day after tomorrow. I will go too. You can come too. I miss you Tilda. Chu-yi is not a deep-minded person, but he also knows that family disgrace should not be made public, so he will not tell Hudai about the fact that he was wronged and had his pocket money deducted. She had a little plan in mind. Her father would bring that woman to the Zhao family's business banquet, and Aunt Hu would also go. As her mother's best friend, she would definitely dislike that woman. Aunt Hu's experienced eyes can see problems that she cannot discover, so it would be best to expose the woman's true colors directly. She has already called her aunt, and with Aunt Hu, she doesn't believe that they can't beat that woman. Hudai didn't expect that the pillow would come right after she dozed off. She was just worried that she wouldn't be able to see Jiang Qiao. The Zhao family had a good relationship with her, so it wouldn't be a problem for her to get an invitation to attend. Seeing that Hu Dai agreed, Chu Yi smiled like a little fox who stole a chicken, with his eyes narrowed into slits. Chu Yi casually swiped the screen and saw Jiangen's name in the recent chat, and his expression froze instantly. A day passed and no one even replied to the message. You usually act like you love your mother, but you are actually just like that. I will chase that woman away myself. If you are free, you can also go to the Zhao family's birthday party the day after tomorrow to watch the excitement. As expected, the news fell into oblivion again. Chu Yi threw the phone aside and snorted, "Who cares?" After sneezing twice in a row, Lin He rubbed his nose and said to Jiang Qiao with a smile, "It must be that little bastard from the first grade who scolded me." She asked Zhao Qing to go shopping with her today, and said that she wanted to wear a girlfriend's dress with her at the party the day after tomorrow. The protagonist who will attend the birthday party the day after tomorrow is Zhao Qing's grandfather. I thought she would continue to make trouble. It seems that I underestimated our daughter. Of course Lin He wanted to meet her daughter as soon as possible, but if she hastily revealed her identity, the relationship between mother and daughter would become stiff and distant. So she has to manage it first. It doesn't matter if her daughter hates her now. The more she hates her, the more she needs to understand her. Even biological mother and daughter need to cultivate feelings. She should be causing trouble at the birthday party. Jiang Qiao guessed so, and hugged Lin He tighter as he spoke. In the past, Jiang Qiao was particularly clingy to Lin He, but now that so many years have passed, Lin He thought that Jiang Qiao had become mature and more serious. The result was even worse. Jiang Qiao seemed to have skin hunger and wanted to stick to her all the time. I'll watch her. Jiang Qiao put his arm around Lin He's waist and held her on his legs. The two of them hugged each other tightly. This is Jiang Qiao's favorite position. In this way, Lin He nestles in his arms, tightly wrapped by his breath. All of them are his. Don't worry about it, I'll take care of it when the time comes. If Jiang Qiao took action, his daughter would only hate her even more, which was not what Lin He wanted. Her goal was to let her daughter understand her and then guide her growth through these things. Lin He has his own ideas. She raised her head and kissed the corner of Jiang Qiao's mouth, saying, "You are the best." Jiang Qiao's eyes became dark because of this kiss, and the dark light in his eyes seemed to devour people. He said in a deep and hoarse voice, "He, I am a little jealous of Chu Yi. Able to attract so much sight and attention from He. You are being childish again, aren't you? She is our daughter. I will make it up to you when the children's problems are resolved." "Okay, I'll remember that." After saying this, Jiang Qiao's face was stretched long by Lin He. "How dare you be jealous when I'm cleaning up your mess right now?" If he was a more decent father, she wouldn't have to worry so much. Thinking that Jiangen hadn't contacted her yet, Lin He pinched him twice more. There is no obedient person in the family. Jiang Qiao was in the wrong, so he let Lin He bully him, but he didn't let go of her hand at all. "Can I go shopping with you tomorrow?" The passing of 15 years not only brought chaos to Lin He's life, but also made her feel fresh about many things again. "It's okay to go out for a walk." Lin He nodded. At this moment, she had no idea that shopping tomorrow would be so lively. Chapter 14. A child without a mother is like a grass. In the past 15 years, the city has changed a lot and technology has advanced a lot. Lin He is like a curious baby. Curiosity is an emotion that is difficult to conceal, and it can be easily seen in the eyes. Moreover, Lin He did not hide or conceal anything, which made her look like a blank sheet of paper, ignorant and confused. Of course, this is just a metaphor. After all, Lin He's temperament doesn't seem like someone who has never seen the world. Therefore, onlookers tend to speculate that Lin He is pretending to be innocent. This is another woman's mentality when she was shopping in a store with Lin He. Especially after seeing Jiang Qiao behind Lin He, she confirmed this guess. The girl deliberately acted innocent in order to attract the attention of mature men. The man she was with was a successful man with a promising career. The hotly dressed woman tucked her wavy hair together, deliberately revealing the left side of her face, which was more delicate than the right side. Don't say that the little girl is scheming, even she was moved. Deep eyes, calm temperament, every move and gesture reveals his elegance and gentlemanliness, and his casual attire cannot hide his good figure. He has broad shoulders, a narrow waist and long legs. When he was helping the girl hang the curtain in the fitting room, the corners of her clothes were lifted up, and her abdominal muscles are so perfect. The woman in the red dress bit her lower lip. What a great man! She tugged at the collar of the dress, moving the off-shoulder design lower, straightening her chest and pulling in her stomach to make her curves more obvious. Then the woman picked up a skirt and walked towards the fitting room. When she passed by Jiang Qiao, she deliberately twisted her ankle and put her arm around the man's waist in the arc she had anticipated. According to the woman's idea, the other party would hold her back, and then she would fall into his arms. With her soft waist, there is no man she cannot hold. The plan was perfect, but Jiang Qiao wasn't one to play by the rules. The moment the woman in the red dress sprained her ankle, Jiang Qiao had already dodged and pulled over a sofa and pushed it over. By the time the woman realized something was wrong, she was already sitting on the sofa. It's okay. If one plan doesn't work, there is always another plan. The woman quickly calmed down, raised her head with sparkling eyes, and said in a coquettish tone, "I'm scared to death." The next sentence the woman intends to say is to thank you, and then use the opportunity to chat for a while, and of course it would be better if they could exchange contact information. It's a pity that Jiang Qiao didn't give him a chance. He took out a black card and said to the clerk who came over after hearing the noise, "Clear the place." How could a salesperson in a brand name store not be observant? She could tell at a glance that this couple were not just rich people. Until I saw this black card, even though I was mentally prepared, I couldn't help swallowing. "Yes, sir." The woman in the red dress was helped away by the clerk, apologizing and saying that they had to clear the place, so they couldn't provide service for the time being, etc. The clerk seemed calm, but the excitement in her eyes was obvious. No wonder she was excited. There were only 20 such black cards in the world, and only 2 in China. The cardholder said that the amount he spent on clothing at their counter alone exceeded 9 figures. What a lavish card! As for why Jiang Qiao has such a card, the reason is simple. During the past 15 years, as long as new models of brands that Lin He likes are released, Jiang Qiao will buy them. He firmly believed that Lin He would come back. Some styles of clothes were limited edition. What if he wanted new ones? For a full 15 years, if Lin He had bought everything herself, she wouldn't have spent so much, because she couldn't possibly buy every item. Jiang Qiao didn't miss a single thing. As a big customer, it was natural for him to have such a black card. In fact, Jiang Qiao had already bought all the clothes in the store for Lin He, but he didn't mention it. Because Lin He said that sometimes when shopping it doesn't matter what you buy, what's important is shopping. The woman in the red dress thought she was very skilled and she could always hook up with other men, but Jiang Qiao didn't fall for it. His status meant that even though he was married, there would always be women coming to him. With so much experience, Jiang Qiao has become immune to women's little tricks of seduction. To be more precise, he can see through them at a glance. The only woman in this world who can make him willingly take the bait is Lin He. There weren't many customers in the store today, so Lin He didn't notice anything different in the store when he came out of the fitting room. She also heard some noise in the fitting room, but she couldn't hear it clearly because of the soothing music playing in the store. Who just fell down? She seemed to hear someone exclaim. The man was helped up by the clerk, so he should be fine. Jiang Qiao naturally responded, looking at Lin He in a white dress. He couldn't help but said, "He, you are so beautiful, I want to kiss you." Lin He's attention was immediately diverted. She patted Jiang Qiao's arm coquettishly and said, "Behave yourself." This guy was not just talking. Maybe it was because he had been missing for too long. Jiang Qiao would always come over and kiss her suddenly when she was talking. But this is understandable, since I am the great treasure that Xiao Qiao had lost and found again. It's not that Lin He is narcissistic, it's what Jiang Qiao said while kissing her. Does this look good? It looks good. It looks really good. Next to the observation elevator opposite the store, there were 2 girls holding mobile phones. They were not taking secret photos, but using the zoom function of their mobile phone cameras to observe the people inside. That woman is so funny. When she turned her head and rolled her eyes just now, I thought she was up to something, but it turned out to be such an old-fashioned trick. The red-haired girl was chewing gum and laughing as she complained. As she was talking, she found that the person next to her didn't respond, so she put away her smile, cleared her throat and said, "Chuyi, I think your father thinks highly of your stepmother. People outside say that her uncle and aunt are loving, but her uncle is always impatient when he accompanies her aunt shopping. He has never been like Chuyi's father. Although I don't know what the 2 of them are talking about, I can tell at a glance that they are deeply in love. I repeat again, she is not my stepmother, she is my dad's girlfriend who can break up with him at any time. Chu Yi's face was gloomy. The two of them didn't buy satisfactory clothes while shopping yesterday, so they made an appointment to go to the mall again today. After finishing her meal upstairs and preparing to go to another store to continue shopping, Chu Yi saw her father. She wanted to go over and say hello, but she stopped when she saw Lin He. Then he pulled Zhao Qing aside to peep. Chu Yi was in a bad mood. His father had never accompanied him shopping, but he went shopping with that woman and seemed to be in a good mood the whole time. As a daughter, she didn't even have a black card of that brand, but her father took it out for that woman. At first, I didn't see clearly what the card my father gave the clerk was. I only realized it after I saw the clerk started to clear the area. Zhao Qing at the side also sighed and said, "Your dad actually has a black card, then you had to wait for half a month to get a bag last time. Just use the card to order it." This statement undoubtedly added fuel to the fire. Considering that Zhao Qing was there, Chu Yi held back for the sake of face. If she were alone, she would have been wiping away tears by now. So this is what it means when a child without a mother is like a weed. If the mother hadn't died, what would that woman have to do with it? Chu Yi glared at Lin He who was standing opposite him, then turned to Zhao Qing and said, "You must help me at the banquet tomorrow. With our relationship, I promised you that I would definitely do it. Don't worry, I'm on your side." Zhao Qing made an okay gesture. Chu Yi nodded, took a deep breath and looked across. She must drive this woman away. Chapter 15. Oh my God, Mom. As night falls, luxury cars gather in front of the brightly lit hotel. Today is Mr. Zhao's 80th birthday, and the Zhao family is hosting a banquet here to entertain relatives and friends. Before the dinner started, Mr. Zhao's eldest son and his wife and daughter were at the door to greet the guests. Most people had arrived, but they were still waiting at the door and hadn't gone in because there was still one important person missing. "Dad, Uncle Jiang and the others are here." Zhao Qing tugged at the corner of her father's clothes. Zhao's father, who was discussing banquet matters with the hotel manager, saw Jiang Qiao getting out of the car and hurried out to the lobby to greet him. Mrs. Zhao, who followed closely behind, turned her attention to the people around Jiang Qiao. The moon-white waist-cinching dress reveals her good figure. Her youthful face looks like she is in her early 20s. Her pretty face is full of youthful beauty, like a blooming gardenia, exuding a unique fragrance. At first glance, Mrs. Zhao gave it a very high evaluation. She thought this girl was a friend from the first grade who came along to play, until she saw the same cloud pattern on Lin He's dress as on the pockets of President Jiang's formal suit, and suddenly surprise flashed in her eyes. This girl is Mr. Jiang's female companion. There has never been any woman around Mr. Jiang when he attended banquets in recent years. He has been alone since his wife passed away unexpectedly. People in the circle say that Mr. Jiang is a lovesick man. The young girl in front of her was the first one that Mr. Jiang had brought with him. Thinking of this, Mrs. Zhao's smile became even more friendly. Jiang Qiao introduced the Zhao couple. "This is my beloved Lin He." The words, "my love," made Father Zhao, who didn't pay much attention to Lin He, take a few more glances at her. Many people who attend the banquet bring female companions, and there are great differences between female companions. Some female companions are beautiful vases from beginning to end, without getting a single introduction. They just stand by for good looks and are dispensable. Some female companions are like Lin He, who have a clear identity relationship and are people who should not be neglected. The neglect here does not refer to their hospitality, but more to the respect in words and deeds during contact. There is a huge difference between the two. Father Zhao, who originally had no intention of talking to Lin He, changed his attitude and stretched out his hand to greet him after hearing such an introduction. After exchanging a few pleasantries, they headed towards the banquet hall. Lin He naturally held Jiang Qiao's arm and leaned against him slightly. Seeing the intimate behavior of the two, Mrs. Zhao secretly complained in her heart, "This little girl is only a few years older than Chu Yi, right? Men really like young and tender, and Mr. Jiang is no exception." It was no wonder that Mrs. Zhao misunderstood. Lin He's pair of innocent and moist almond-shaped eyes were too clear and pure, without any worldly taste, like those of a student who had never been exposed to society. As a mother of 3 children, Lin He doesn't look like a mother at all. Her skin is tight and fair, and her face full of collagen matches her childish and bright eyes, making her look even smaller. After entering the banquet, Zhao's father pulled Jiang Qiao aside and said that Director Lin was over there, and everyone clinked glasses to say hello. Jiang Qiao did not move and glanced at Lin He. Mrs. Zhao immediately smiled knowingly and said, "Mr. Jiang, you go ahead. I'll take Miss Lin to the flower bed." The banquet hall is very large, and its Chinese decoration style is similar to the back garden of an ancient house, with rockery and pavilions, and is extremely exquisite. The flower bed Mrs. Zhao was talking about was on the left side of the rockery. Ladies from various families gathered there, enjoying the flowers and chatting. It was very lively. "You go ahead. I'll go with Mrs. Zhao." After hearing what Lin He said, Jiang Qiao left. Before leaving, he told her that he would come to see her after meeting director Lin. Mrs. Zhao was surprised by the affection between the two. It turned out that Mr. Jiang had such a side to him. "Although I am not familiar with Mr. Jiang, I have met him many times at banquets. He always has an icy face that keeps people at a distance. He has never spoken to me as gently as he does now, with eyes that seem to be about to shed tears." This Miss Lin was able to win over Mr. Jiang. She's got something. The other people present seemed to be doing their own things, but in fact they had already paid attention to the door. It was the first time they saw a woman attending a banquet with Mr. Jiang's arm around her. It was so novel. Seeing Mrs. Zhao leading the young lady over, they all came forward to greet Mrs. Zhao and then looked to see who this young woman was. After hearing Mrs. Zhao introduce Lin He as Jiang Qiao's lover, everyone's attitude became more warm. "She is so beautiful." Looking at Lin He, who was being treated like a star, Chu Yi, who was sitting beside the pillar, was angry. "You know how powerful your father is. They will definitely support you." The word stepmother almost came out of Zhao Qing's mouth again, and she quickly changed her words and said, "Hold that bad woman." If Jiang Qiao hadn't introduced Lin He as his lover, these ladies wouldn't even look at her. The word lover is so valuable. She is the first person who can blow the wind in your ears. I don't know if it is good to have a good relationship with Mr. Jiang's lover, but it will definitely not be bad. So these rich ladies were quite enthusiastic about Lin He. "Have you arranged your people?" Chu Yi asked. "It's all arranged. It's absolutely reliable." Zhao Qing patted her chest and was about to say something else when she exclaimed, pointed to the door and said, "Chu Yi, your brother is here." Zhao Qing's cousin Zhao Jun and Jiangan are classmates. They have a good relationship and Jiangan came here with Zhao Jun. Chu Yi raised his eyebrows. "Are you really here to watch the fun? Is that Mr. Jiang's eldest son?" "Let me see, it's him. I saw him last year." Others also noticed Jiangan, and their eyes turned meaningfully when they looked at Lin He. It's hard to be a stepmother. Although Miss Lin has taken the right path, it's not so easy to take care of the Jiang family's children. Mr. Jiang's daughter, who came with us, didn't talk to Miss Lin the whole time. I guess there will be some trouble later. No, we might see a commotion right now. Everyone looked at Jiangan, who was heading straight for Lin He, and their gossip radars were set on high, waiting for the show to begin. "Anan? You're coming to the party. Why didn't you tell Mom that you were coming? I should have asked your dad to pick you up." Lin He was very happy to see her eldest son. Does this mean that her son has calmed down, is willing to see her, and is trying to accept her? One sentence turned the whole audience upside down. Everyone was dumbfounded. My God, Miss Lin is so amazing. No, she is crazy. She actually called herself a mother in front of the eldest son of the Jiang family. Regarding the eldest son of the Jiang family, the most profound memory left by everyone is the incident 7 or 8 years ago when he broke the nose of the youngest son of the Liu family with a punch. It was also at a birthday party that the youngest son of the Liu family said that he wanted his aunt to be Jiangan's mother and teach him well in the future. It seemed like childish words without restraint, but in fact it was a deliberate test by the Liu family, who wanted to marry Jiang Qiao. As a result, the youngest son of the Liu family was beaten up by Jiangan. Afterwards, Jiang Qiao was even more ruthless and directly broke off cooperation with the Liu family. The Liu family lost more than they gained. So, Miss Lin won't get beaten, right? Young people are so brave. Do you think you can say that in public? You are so naive. Last time, the youngest son of the Liu family was also beaten in public. Chapter 16. What? Scared away. Jiangan paused when he heard Lin He's words, and he heard the people around him gasp. Thinking of Lin He's current situation, Jiangan clenched his fists and moved his lips but said nothing. After taking a breath, Jiangan spoke again, "Mom, come with me, I have something to tell you." Everyone. Mom. Lin He was also stunned. After saying that, seeing her son's evasive expression, Lin He knew that Anan was not ready to face her and she had taken it for granted. Just as I was about to say something else to ease the tension, I was caught off guard when I heard my son calling me mom. Her eyes were a little moist. Lin He knew that her son called her mom because he didn't want to embarrass her in public. Anan's personality has changed as he grew up, but his nature remains the same as when he was a child. He is a kind and protective baby. You have to be careful about Chuyi. When he reached the balcony, Jiangan saw that there was no one around, so he quickly got down to business. After receiving Chuyi's message, Jiangan realized that Chuyi said that because he didn't know his mother's true identity. Although I don't know why they kept it a secret, they must have their reasons. Jiangan decided not to get involved and did not reply. Then he received a second message. Chuyi acts rashly and without considering the consequences. She does things without considering the seriousness of the matter, which makes Jiangan a little worried. One reason why he didn't contact Lin He was because he took his father's warning into consideration. The other was that Jiangan still didn't know how to face Lin He. Jiangan told himself that his father would protect his mother well and Chuyi would definitely not be able to surpass his father. After thinking it over, Jiangan felt that he didn't need to intervene, so he went to bed early and prepared to rest, and he wanted to sleep before the sun set. Then he suffered from insomnia. The master was beaten to death with random punches. What if the father failed to protect the mother and let Chuyi's plan succeed? No, he has to come and see. You didn't tell her the truth, did you? She thinks you took advantage of her, Jiangan paused. He's taking up a seat, and is trying every way to get you out. There's a lot of people at the banquet, and you never know what might happen. You have to be careful. After thinking for a while, Jiangan added, it's best to stay by your father's side all the time. Seeing his son's awkward and concerned look, Lin He smiled and couldn't help but rub his son's hair like he did when they were little. Sensing Lin He's movements, Jiangan subconsciously wanted to dodge. After taking a step back, he stopped abruptly. He did not dodge until Lin He's hand touched his hair. Thank you, Anan, for caring about mom. Anan is so nice tilde. The tips of Jiangan's ears hidden under his hair turned slightly red. He pursed his lips and said in a rough voice, I'm not a child anymore. Although he said this in such a dissatisfied tone, he actually let Lin He touch his hair. It was not until Lin He withdrew his hand that he avoided it with an expression of unbearable pain. Lin He's eyes curved even more when she smiled, and she looked like a silly Anan with soft hair and a soft heart. Jiangan. Chuyi walked over with gritted teeth, looked at the traitor with a look on his face and asked in a low voice, you call her mom? Knowing that everyone's eyes were on him, Chuyi's back teeth were almost worn out, but he managed to put on a smile. She intended to show the harmony of her family to the outside world, but Jiangan didn't care about that. He glanced at Chuyi and said calmly, what's it got to do with you? Having said that, he turned around and walked away without looking back. Lin He frowned when he saw the interaction between the siblings. The relationship between Anan and Chuyi. What did you do to make him call you mom? Did you threaten him? What did you threaten him with? Chuyi didn't understand, she didn't understand at all. She thought Jiangan should be the one who opposed it the most. One day, you will be willing to call me mom. Lin He raised his chin and walked away with an expression that imitated his daughter's proud little swan. Chuyi was so angry that she was about to die, but she didn't show it like she did at home. She nodded with a smile, as if the two of them had understood something and were in harmony. Then Chuyi walked to the other side. From an outsider's perspective, the Jiang family's children were very friendly to Miss Lin. They heard the eldest son Jiang's mom clearly. What kind of person is this Miss Lin? Not only did she win the favor of Mr. Jiang, but she also managed to take care of the children at home. Jiangan found a sofa and sat down. Thinking of the scene just now, he raised his hand and touched his hair. His mother loved to touch his hair when he was a child. Brother Jiang. Even though I'll get beaten for asking, I still can't help asking, do you really call your father's girlfriend mom? When Zhao Jun came out of the bathroom, he heard everyone discussing this matter. If someone hadn't said that they heard it with their own ears, he would never have dared to ask. Even with such irrefutable evidence, he still wanted to verify it because it was too magical. Following behind Zhao Jun were three young boys with various expressions on their faces, some curious and a little shocked. I heard that the chef your family hired this time was descended from an imperial chef. Zhao Jun, not knowing how the topic turned to this, nodded blankly. Looks like I'll have to taste it. Zhao Jun scratched his head and asked innocently, then let's go to the table to eat. Jiangan nodded, stood up and walked in front, while Zhao Jun followed behind. After walking a few steps, he suddenly realized that the topic had been diverted. Besides, didn't he brother Jiang say he would stay for 5 minutes and then leave? Why did he suddenly want to eat? Unfortunately, he only had enough courage to ask the question once. He didn't dare to ask again about calling her mom. Zhao Jun winked at the people next to him, signaling them to go ahead. The others were even more timid and shook their heads. In the end, no one dared to ask. As some of the people who witnessed how Liu Sai's nose was broken, they knew how hard Jiangan's fist was. It was enough to see it once. After talking to Jiangan, Lin He returned to the crowd and clearly felt that everyone's attitude was warm and even a little attentive. Led by Mrs. Zhao, all the other ladies smiled at her. After a few words, a familiar voice sounded, "Oh, I'm late, Sister Zhao, long time no see, tilde. Jiang Muhua is here." Lin He turned around and looked in the direction of the voice, and happened to meet Jiang Muhua's gaze. "R." Jiang Muhua took a breath, yelled, "Oh my god," and stumbled out of the banquet hall. Jiang Muhua left again. The woman in the dark green cheongsam at the side had a grudge against Jiang Muhua. Seeing this, she said, "What is this person doing? Miss Lin, don't let someone spoil your fun. Let's talk about the topic just now. The flower you like is in my house." After the cheongsam woman changed the subject, the others followed suit and continued talking about flowers. Everyone was muttering in their hearts, Jiang Muhua was too inexplicable. As the cousin of Mr. Jiang's original wife, she didn't act like that just now on purpose to disgust Miss Lin. I have to say that everyone really misunderstood Jiang Muhua this time. She was really scared and thought she saw Lin his ghost. As long as you don't do anything wrong, you don't have to be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door. This also shows that Jiang Muhua is guilty, so he reacted like this. Chu Yi, who watched the whole process, was dumbfounded. How could he not be relied upon even with such a strong fighting aunt? Why is she running? Chapter 17. We agreed on an alliance. Where are you? Aunt, why did you leave? I sent a message to Jiang Muhua on the first day of the new year, but after waiting for a long time there was no reply. Then I looked up and found that aunt who had not replied to me either. He said he had entered the hotel 20 minutes ago, but now there is no sign of him. Chu Yi had no idea that of the two powerful foreign players she brought in, one was scared away after the encounter, and the other was also trembling in fear. Hu Dai came in thinking about meeting Chu Yi first and then talking to Jiang Qiao. The only purpose of attending the banquet today was to resolve the misunderstanding. When she was about to reach the place Chu Yi mentioned, Hu Dai stopped. Looking at the woman chatting and laughing with the ladies not far away, her limbs stiffened and cold sweat streamed down her forehead. Lin He. I heard that Mr. Jiang brought his lover with him. Who is it? Well, Mrs. Zhao is the one who takes care of me. TSK, she is so attentive. Two women in fishtail skirts walked past Hu Dai, and their conversation reached her ears. At this moment, Hu Dai's head was full of roaring sounds, as if there was constant thunder and lightning on a rainy day, making her dizzy. Oh my god! Lin He is back. No wonder Jiang Qiao blocked me. If Lin He was here, then what I did would be no different from a clown. Hu Dai made thousands of preparations and thought of countless reasons to explain herself, but she never expected that Lin He, who had disappeared for 15 years, would come back. Hu Dai stared at Lin He and trembled all over. Why didn't she die? Hu Dai bit her lower lip tightly, her eyes cold. Realizing that Lin He was looking over here, she quickly dodged and hid behind a stone pillar, not daring to show up at all. Chu Yi, who couldn't find any allies, was so angry that he stomped his feet. No one could be trusted. Forget it, she can do it herself. Chu Yi walked up to Zhao Qing and nodded, and Zhao Qing made an okay gesture. About 5 minutes later, a waiter carrying a wine tray ran towards Lin He. As she passed by, she stumbled and fell. Most of the champagne in the waiter's hand spilled onto Lin He's skirt. Chu Yi, who was hiding in the corner, smiled secretly when he saw that his plan was successful and made a fool of himself. As she smiled, the corners of her mouth turned flat again. How could that woman be so calm? She didn't scream in panic, nor did she lose her composure and scold the waiter. Lin He merely let out a light cry, then helped the waiter up and asked him if there was anything wrong, without caring at all that his dress was dirty. People passing by on both sides looked at him with admiration at Lin He's reaction. Mr. Jiang's wife looks young, but she is not at all loud. She is neither humble nor arrogant, and she is steady in dealing with things. No wonder Mr. Jiang is so pleased with her. Chu Yi felt a little aggrieved. Was he trying to improve the favorability of this woman? Mom, let Auntie Lin go to the third floor to tidy up. This piece will only take about 10 minutes to wash and dry. Zhao Qing came over, took a look at the material of Lin He's dress and made this suggestion. Mrs. Zhao felt that her daughter had grown up and the solution she proposed was a good one, so she wanted to take Lin He upstairs. The entire hotel was booked by the Zhao family, and the upper floors were used to accommodate relatives and friends who came from afar. Mom, Aunt Chi is looking for you. She seems to be in a hurry. Why don't I take Aunt Lin upstairs? How could the Chi family's wife be as important as Mr. Jiang's wife? Mrs. Zhao was about to refuse when she heard Lin He say, "Your daughter is so cute and I like her very much. Let her take me there." Mrs. Zhao thought it was a good idea, so she gave Zhao Qing a few words and left. "Auntie Lin, let me help you." Zhao Qing stepped forward obediently. Lin He put his hand over. "Thank you, can I call you Qing Qing?" "All right." After walking a few steps, Lin He asked in surprise, "What's this wrist?" Zhao Qing lowered her head and discovered that the tattoo on the inside of her wrist was exposed. The tattoo was very small and could be covered by a bracelet or something like that, but it was rubbed open because she was holding Lin He. She quickly pulled the bracelet back and blocked it tightly. Zhao Qing was prepared to be lectured. Ever since she got the tattoo, the adults in her family would talk about her whenever they saw her. But Zhao Qing just doesn't wash, she likes it. "It's Yi." Zhao Qing widened her eyes and asked with some surprise, "Aunt Lin, do you know Yi?" Lin He's eyes were curved. Not only did she know him, but she also created him. Yi was a supporting character in her previous comic series, a dandelion elf. After listening to Lin He's clear and logical explanation, Zhao Qing believed that this was the truth. Then, when she heard him say that the pattern was very beautiful and the admiration in his eyes was genuine, she was even happier. Zhao Qing's face turned red, she was excited and shy. Chu Yi's stepmother has such beautiful eyes, sparkling like spring water. Her tone is so gentle and her voice is nice, the key is that she knows Yi. Zhao Qing suddenly felt like rebelling. Then I remembered what Chu Yi said, that woman is very good at bewitching people. You can't believe anything she says. Zhao Qing thought, let's just go with the plan. If Aunt Lin is a good person, there will be no loss. Auntie Lin, I'm going to ask the staff to dry the clothes. Please wait here Tilda. Zhao Qing left, leaving Lin He alone in her bathrobe. Her eyes flickered to the pile of dazzling jewels on the table, and a gleam of light flashed in her eyes. While changing clothes, Zhao Qing casually said that these jewels were brought by her mother, and also complained about her mother's carelessness. I was in a hurry when I came here, so I just grabbed a handful of things and lost a few things on the way. In the chaos, I don't even know what I lost. Lin He chuckled. What a childish act. Apparently Chu Yi thought she was a materialistic person, so he deliberately created this scene to tempt her to take away the 2 pieces of jewelry. This proves that she has bad character and is not fit to marry into the Jiang family. About 15 minutes later, Zhao Qing came back with the dried dress, and the wine stains on the hem had been cleaned up. After changing her clothes, Lin He didn't leave in a hurry. She waved to Zhao Qing with a smile. Call Chu Yi here. Zhao Qing blinked. Brother Jiang, are you full? Zhao Jun handed over a tissue in a servile manner and helped Jiang wipe his hands after he put down his chopsticks. I'm full. Then can I ask? Zhao Jun still didn't give up. He just asked around and was sure that Brother Jiang really called her mom. What he wanted to ask now was what Brother Jiang thought. Zhao Jun couldn't figure out what made Brother Jiang change. Just last month, Brother Jiang was in a state of panic when his mother was mentioned, but now he can call his stepmother mom. Zhao Jun was so curious. He was interrupted before he finished his question. Jiangan suddenly stood up, looked around and frowned. Where did they go? Zhao Jun, who had been following Jiangan as a follower for many years, knew tacitly who Jiangan was referring to when he said they. He replied, Miss Lin's clothes were spilled with wine by the waiter, so she went upstairs to tidy them up. It seems that Chuyi also went upstairs. Just now when he was walking around, he heard someone mention it. Jiangan cried out in dismay upon hearing this and quickly ran upstairs. Chapter 18. The status is very high. How unreliable. From brisk walking to jogging, Jiangan complained about his father in his heart. When Jiangan came to the corridor on the third floor, he didn't know which room his mother was in. When he wanted to call her, he heard his father knocking on the door at the end of the corridor. After the socializing, Jiang Qiao found Mrs. Zhao and asked where Lin He had gone. When he learned that Lin He was at 310, he immediately looked for him. Jiangan ran up to Jiang Qiao, panting. Behind him were a few young boys. Behind the boys was a group of people, including Mrs. Zhao and the wives of several CEOs. What is this for? Jiang Qiao frowned. Jiangan turned around and found so many people following him. He realized it was his fault and his face turned dark. He brought these people here. The group of people led by Zhao Jun were originally chasing Jiangan. As for Mrs. Zhao and the others, they saw a group of children running upstairs in a hurry, especially Jiangan in front, whose expression was very heavy. I thought something had happened, so I hurried over without caring about anything else. At this moment, there was a click and the door opened. Seeing the crowd rushing to the door, Lin He was stunned. What's wrong? Behind Lin He, Chuyi was standing next to the sofa. His eyes were red and it was obvious that he had been crying. Jiangan was relieved to see that Lin He was fine, while Jiang Qiao took Lin He's hand and brought him close to him, his close attitude being self-evident. Lin He thought for a moment and explained. The child was ignorant and said a few words to her, so she got angry. Others. Miss Lin probably doesn't know Miss Chuyi's temperament. If she was in a bad mood, how could she be so quiet? She would have smashed the door long ago. It's clear that I was educated. Everyone's evaluation of Lin He became even higher. Every woman who becomes a stepmother is very cautious. It is not good to be too involved, and it is not good to be too superficial. This aspect accounts for most of the difficulties of being a stepmother. How could a spoiled daughter be the type to swallow her anger? The fact that Chuyi cried so honestly showed that although Lin He was a stepmother, she could act like an elder and suppress the younger generation. Looking at the attitudes of Mr. Jiang and Jiangan, they showed no displeasure at all and allowed Lin He to educate his daughter's sister. Miss Lin is not simple. Everyone ignored the other person in the room, Zhao Qing, who was squatting next to the sofa in the corner. Her expression was not much better than Chuyi's. Although Lin He didn't say a word to her from beginning to end, she felt awe-inspiring as if she was being killed as a warning to others when she saw him scolding Chuyi. The story began 20 minutes ago. Facing Lin He's questioning, Zhao Qing chose to play dumb. As a result, Lin He explained their plan in a few words, and Zhao Qing could no longer pretend. There should be a camera near the jewelry. Chuyi, you are watching in real time, right? Don't hide, come here. Chuyi from the next room came over. I've been discovered by you. You're one step ahead of me. Now that I'm here, what can you do to me? Chuyi was not afraid at all. What could Lin He do to her? Stupid. Chuyi was stunned by the scolding. After being stunned for several seconds, he was dissatisfied and wanted to refute, but he was stunned again by Lin He's next long speech. You plan to lure me in and then release the surveillance video, letting everyone know my character and thus end my chance of marrying into the Jiang family. Have you ever thought about where your father is going? We came to the Zhao family to celebrate Mr. Zhao's 80th birthday. Are you ruining the party by making such a fuss? Do you think that releasing such a video will let everyone see my true face? No, then everyone will only see the Jiang family's joke. The eldest daughter of the Jiang family set a trap and created a theft drama involving a gold digger, causing her father to. Family disgrace should not be made public. Your behavior just now shows that you know this. Then why did you make such a plan? If you had done it at your own home, I would have praised you for having such an idea. Not only did you cause trouble at someone else's elder's birthday party, but you also brought their granddaughter with you to do it. Do you think that if this matter gets out, others won't laugh at you? Everyone present is smart and can tell at a glance that it was your trick. What will they think of you? Chuyi was moved to tears. No one has ever trained me like this since I was a child. She told her aunt about her plan before the trip, and she only did it because her aunt thought it was feasible. From Lin He's words, Chuyi realized what kind of situation the Jiang family would let her father and herself fall into if her plan succeeded. She felt helpless, wronged, and terrified. Chu Yi's inner emotions were quite complicated. She wanted to say something to refute, but found that she couldn't say anything. She realized that she had been impulsive. Zhao Qing's face also turned pale. Thinking of the trouble her mischief would bring to her family, she couldn't help but shiver. Reality is not a TV show. The plot of a cool drama is too far-fetched. If it happens in real life, there will be too many troubles and problems in the future. They didn't think about the consequences. Okay, stop crying, it didn't happen. Lin He comforted her, and Chu Yi cried even harder. Seeing her daughter crying like this, Lin He felt very distressed, but she had to do it. Everything has been smooth sailing for me since I was a child. Of course, there is nothing wrong with that. Life does not necessarily have to be full of hardships. The problem is that no one gave her positive teaching and guidance during her growth in the first grade of junior high school. She can recognize Chu Yi, but after becoming her biological mother, her teachings will only make Chu Yi reject her, and the relationship between mother and daughter becomes distant, and the rift becomes bigger and bigger. Therefore, Lin He would rather have a bad identity from the beginning to change Chu Yi's temper. At least what happened today happened. I will think more about what I do after the first day of the new year. After saying this, Lin He, who wanted to say a few more words of comfort, heard someone knocking on the door. She came over to open the door, and the scene at the beginning appeared. A boy following behind Zhao Jun had a crush on Chu Yi since childhood. Seeing Chu Yi crying like this, the boy asked angrily, "Chu Yi, did she bully you? It looked like I was going to support you no matter what, if your father and brother don't support me." Chu Yi, who had just been taught a lesson, probably had the clearest mind at this moment. "No. This is our family matter." After saying that, she turned around and went to the restroom nearby. It was so embarrassing for so many people to see her with swollen eyes from crying. The boy said, "Oh," awkwardly, then looked up and met Jianggen's eyes, and froze for a moment. Finished. This was just a small incident and everyone dispersed and continued to attend the banquet. The news that Mr. Jiang's wife, Miss Lin, held a high position in the Jiang family spread like wildfire. The following banquet went very smoothly. Jiang Qiao accompanied Lin He throughout the whole process. Chu Yi followed behind the two of them obediently, absent-minded. After Jianggen was sure that nothing would happen to Lin He anymore, he left secretly. The fast did not stop there. After the banquet, when the family of three drove back to the gate of the villa, the car was blocked. Chu Yi got off the car first after seeing clearly, pointed at a large area in front and asked, "Aunt, what are you doing?" Chapter 19 Jiang Qiao's Indifference. There was white flour-like substance scattered on the ground, and there were incense sticks and candles on both sides of the road, as well as several unknown square objects covered with red cloth. The most outrageous thing was that there were two middle-aged women wearing black tang suits sitting in the middle of the road, with disheveled hair and a few red dots on their foreheads. They had their eyes closed and kept muttering to themselves, but no one knew what they were saying. The scene before my eyes was beyond my first year of junior high school. What on earth was this? Jiang Muhua looked around with a sly look, stretched out her hand to pull Chu Yi to her side and said, "You are still young and don't understand. Auntie is doing this for your own good. I tell you, no matter if you are a close relative or not, humans and ghosts are different. If you are contaminated by ghost energy, your lifespan will be shortened. You and your father each take one. Put it under your pillow. It will be fine in 3 days." As he spoke, Jiang Muhua stuffed two talismans into Chu Yi's palm. Chu Yi took the talisman paper in a daze. Why did she seem unable to communicate with her aunt? What were they talking about? Hey, feudal superstition is prohibited. Lin He stood up next to the car door and shouted. Originally, Lin He didn't plan to get out of the car to care about what her daughter and Jiang Muhua said. At this stage, Chu Yi trusted and was closer to Jiang Muhua than her, so she would not fight with an egg against a rock. But what did he see? Was that triangular red and yellow thing a talisman? Would Jiang Muhua drink it with water? Thinking of Jiang Muhua's reaction at the banquet and the ghostly scribbles on the ground in front of him, then he guessed that the other party saw him and probably thought he saw a ghost, so he did all these. Master! He has revealed himself. Hearing Lin He's voice, Jiang Muhua glared at her unhappily. She was talking to her niece, so what did it have to do with anyone else? When she saw Lin He's face, she was horrified and pushed Chu Yi away, then ran behind the middle-aged woman sitting on the ground, screaming in a very shrill voice. "It's really outrageous." Jiang Qiao in the car glared at the sight, and put his hands on the door, ready to get out. He paused, then sat back down with a drooping brow. He won't let. Before getting off the car, Lin He told Jiang Qiao, "You stay in the car and are not allowed to show your face." If Jiang Qiao sided with her and went over to scold Jiang Muhua, Chu Yi would spontaneously stand on Jiang Muhua's side, directly turning the two into opposing parties, which was not what Lin He wanted. "Stay still." Lin He raised his index finger to emphasize it again, and after hearing Jiang Qiao's "oh," he closed the car door and walked towards Chu Yi. The driver in the car secretly glanced at the rear-view mirror, and after meeting Jiang Qiao's sharp eyebrows, he withdrew his gaze like a frightened bird, sat up straight and looked straight ahead. He looks serious on the outside but is secretly complaining in his heart. It turns out that even a rich man would be afraid of his wife. "Ghost, ghost, ghost. Help, help, help." Seeing Lin He getting closer and closer, the terrified Jiang Muhua could not speak a complete sentence and could only utter single words. The two middle-aged women also looked terrified. "Is there a ghost? Is there really a ghost?" The two looked around and saw that Jiang Muhua was pointing at Lin He. They breathed a sigh of relief. There was a shadow. After confirming that it wasn't a ghost, the two men quickly regained their mysterious demeanor. "Aunt! What's wrong with you? She's not a ghost." The two middle-aged women also echoed Chu Yi's words, saying that Lin He had a shadow or something like that, and Jiang Muhua finally calmed down. When Jiang Muhua learned that the person in front of him was the vixen he had fought against before, he murmured, "Is Jiang Qiao crazy?" Yes, Jiang Muhua's first reaction was that Jiang Qiao found a woman to look like Lin He and then use her as a stand-in. Especially after learning that the little vixen was also called Lin He, I became more certain of this. Looking inside the car again, Jiang Qiao didn't get out even though they were making such a fuss. He had made a mistake, but Jiang Qiao missed Lin He like crazy. This also shows that Jiang Qiao finally accepted the reality of Lin He's death. What kind of feelings can a stand-in talk about? Her chance has finally come. Jiang Muhua's eyes were filled with excitement, and his pupils were flickering with the ambition to win. She had no doubt that the Lin He in front of her was herself. After all, it was impossible for him to be as young as he was 15 years ago when he reappeared after disappearing for 15 years. Looking at Chu Yi again, how could the biological mother not recognize her daughter? Jiang Muhua left, and before leaving, the look in his eyes when he looked at Lin He was full of meaning. "You will be defeated by me." After returning to the villa, Chu Yi went back to his room in a depressed mood. He was already unhappy, and after seeing his weird aunt, he became even more irritated. Lin He did not try to comfort his daughter. He had already said everything that needed to be said in the room on the third floor. The rest was for her to think about on her own. On the second floor balcony, there were 2 glasses of red wine on the table. Lin He and Jiang Qiao were sitting on a double lounge chair, looking at the full moon in the sky. After attending a lively banquet, the tranquility at this moment is particularly relaxing. Anan is so cute. His tone of voice is like a warning, but in reality it is full of concern, just like when he was a kid and got upset. Although Chu Yi is reckless, he listens to advice and has a naive personality. Listening to Lin He talking about the fragments of his life today, Jiang Qiao tugged at the collar of his shirt. His exquisite hair was now hanging messily in front of his forehead, and the smile on the corner of his mouth was lazy and ruffian. He held Lin He's hand in his palm, feeling the warmth of the touch. His eyes fell on the profile of his beloved, his eyes so deep that they seemed to be engraved into his heart. The color of his eyes grew deeper and deeper, like a deep abyss hidden beneath the surface of a pond, with a hint of paranoia in the calm. By the way, what's going on with Anan and Chu Yi? Lin He seemed to have thought of something and suddenly sat up. The rich color quickly faded away, and when Lin He looked over, only clarity remained in Jiang Qiao's dark eyes. You don't know that there is a conflict between the brother and sister, do you? Lin He withdrew his anger and stood up with his hands on his hips. If Jiang Qiao dares to say he doesn't know, today will not be the end of the day. He wanted to pull the person back into his arms but was dodged. Jiang Qiao sighed and told him what he knew. Anan, the first and 15th siblings, had a very good relationship when they were young, until they were in middle school. Jiang Qiao remembered that it was a summer vacation when the 3 siblings suddenly had a quarrel and their original plan to go on a trip together ended in a bad mood. They drove away the servants when they quarreled, so no one knew what they were quarreling about. The housekeeper tried to ask the reason, but the three children kept their mouths shut and no one said anything. The housekeeper later reported the matter to Jiang Qiao, who called back and asked what happened to the three children. As a result, the three of them said in unison that it was nothing, and they even denied that they had a quarrel, saying that it was just a few words and nothing serious. From then on, the relationship between the three children became increasingly cold, and later they would confront each other whenever they met. So you heard them say that they didn't quarrel and left it alone. Jiang Qiao was silent. Lin He took a step back. She didn't understand. When she was around, Jiang Qiao was obviously a very responsible father, and he took care of the three children no less than she, as a mother. But in the 15 years since she disappeared, Lin He felt from the information he had received these days that Jiang Qiao had become indifferent to his father's identity. Why? Lin He asked. Chapter 20: The Secret Past. Seeing that Jiang Qiao remained silent, Lin He laughed angrily, but couldn't help feeling a little aggrieved. Okay, now you're using the cold shoulder on me, right? Seeing Lin He's eyes moisten, Jiang Qiao panicked and said quickly, He, I can't take care of it at that time. How can you not take care of it? What kind of thing could be more important than a child? Can't you even spare a little time to care about it? If there had been an elder to mediate the conflict at that time, and an Chuyi would not have behaved like that at the banquet today. They should have been close siblings who cared for each other. Thinking of this, Lin He was about to cry. At that time, on Fungjia Island on the left side of the Pacific Ocean, we found the ID cards of the passengers of the plane crash and traces of people living there. I went to Fungjia Island and searched the area nearby for 3 months. The signal over the Pacific Ocean was poor, and the calls Jiang Qiao made were intermittent. In the end, Jiang Qiao returned from Fungjia Island empty-handed. Every time a clue brings Jiang Qiao hope, it also means another loss, and he falls into endless grief. I'm sorry, I didn't take good care of our child during the time you were gone. Jiang Qiao choked up, looked at Lin He expectantly, opened his lips and closed them again, wanted to say something but swallowed it back. He lowered his head with a feeling of being abandoned, like an unwanted puppy. Blame me. I'm sorry. Lin He looked up at the moon. She was on a night flight when the plane crashed, and the moon was as round as it is today. I don't blame you. Lin He reached out to hug Jiang Qiao, who lowered his head. Jiang Qiao buried his head in front of Lin He's waist and abdomen, his hands tightly holding the other's waist. His eyes fell on the top of Jiang Qiao's head. Lin He stroked his neck and whispered, this plane crash was unfortunate. It separated our family for 15 years. Lin He sniffed, but couldn't hold back her tears. She continued, it's also lucky that we meet again after 15 years of separation. She is still alive, which is a blessing in disguise. Compared with Jiang Qiao's dereliction of duty, how about her 15 years of disappearance? He himself was involved in a plane crash, 6-year-old and was still confused, and the 2-year-old twins were still unknown to the world. Jiang Qiao was the one who suffered the most. How could she blame him? Qiao, our family must live well in the future, okay? Good. The two hugged each other like this for a long time. The moonlight was beautiful and the wind was gentle. Late at night, listening to the even breathing of the person beside him, Jiang Qiao slowly opened his eyes and looked at Lin He with a weary look. Thinking of the conversation just now, Jiang Qiao stepped forward and gently placed a kiss on Lin He's forehead. His he is still so soft-hearted. Then he gently picked up the phone on the bedside table and sent a message to Jiangan. Seeing you and Chuyi getting along, she felt sad and cried. At that time, Jiangan had not slept yet. He had just separated from Zhao Jun and his gang and had just sat on the sofa after returning home. After seeing this message, Jiangan was silent for a long time. He knew that what his father wanted to express was definitely not to confront him directly. I don't want to talk about the past and I'm too lazy to talk about it, so you can rest assured. After replying like this, seeing that there was no reply from the other end, Jiangan sneered and threw the phone away, realizing that he had guessed right. With his hands behind his head, Jiangan stared blankly at the ceiling, thinking of the scene of Lin He touching his head at the banquet. That smile was so familiar, and it coincided with the scene he always dreamed of. Jiangan dreamed countless times that his mother touched his head and smiled, saying that she was back. I got up and walked to the refrigerator. There was only a box of dumplings in the empty freezer. Jiangan took out 2 pieces of ribs from it. This was the portion that Lin He had packed for him and put in the car. Jiangan carefully placed the ribs one by one as if they were some precious ingredients and put them in the refrigerator. With a ding sound, the ribs are heated in the microwave. Jiangan lowered his head and ate in small bites. His eyes became redder and redder, and then big tears dripped onto the table. It seems like mom is really back. The next day, when Chuyi woke up, he had 2 big dark circles under his eyes. Chuyi tossed and turned in bed last night, unable to fall asleep because of what happened at the banquet. When he was finally about to fall asleep, his cell phone rang twice, immediately disturbing his sleepiness. Aunt Hu had disappeared all night, replied. On the first day of the new year, your mother came back? When did it happen? Very good, this is a piece of news that makes people angry. If it was any other New Year's Day, she would have ignored it, but the word mom was too glaring, so she replied angrily. Not my mom. I'm going to sleep. After replying, Chuyi turned off his phone. Hu Dai was puzzled as to what she meant by she's not my mother. She sent another message but Chuyi didn't reply. So she asked the acquaintances who were attending the party. Only then did I realize that everyone thought that was Mr. Jiang's new girlfriend. Hu Dai realized it later. Yes, if it was Lin He, how could he not have aged at all? She was so shocked that she left in a hurry. If she had known, she should have stayed and observed for a while. Thinking about this matter in her mind, Hu Dai went straight to the door the next day. She dared to come because she was basically sure that the person she saw was not Lin He. Furthermore, I also wanted to quickly clear up the misunderstanding. If the overseas procedures were not completed within 5 days, the company would lose a large sum of money, and the fines this year were particularly severe. She needs to use Jiang Qiao's connections. But Hu Dai didn't even enter the door. In the past, Hu Dai didn't need an appointment to come to Jiang's house. The housekeeper would take her directly to the villa to wait. But this time, the housekeeper saw her and refused to let her in. Ms. Hu, we are not hosting guests at home today. Sorry. The housekeeper was being polite, but what he was thinking was that he would not entertain guests whenever you came. The master has already said that from now on, people who could enter and leave the house freely in the past will have to abide by the rules. This is obviously referring to Miss Jiang and Miss Hu. I'm here to look for Chuyi Tilder. Before she came, she wanted to use the first day of the new year as an excuse, but when she called the other party in the morning, the phone was turned off and she couldn't get through at all. No. The butler is impartial. Hu Dai was extremely angry. She was arguing with the housekeeper, and then she saw Jiang Qiao's car driving away. She wanted to chase the car but it drove away. I could clearly see myself in the rearview mirror, but the car didn't stop. At this moment, Hu Dai suddenly realized that if she didn't rely on Lin He, even if she increased the market value of Beijing tenfold, it would still not be enough to reach the Jiang family. Regret, endless regret. Why did I rush into this heat of the moment and direct public opinion toward Lin He? Hu Dai, who thought that this was the reason why Jiang Qiao disliked her, turned extremely pale and left with a miserable back. I think she's clearly not giving up. The housekeeper told this matter to Lin He, who was having breakfast, and finally gave his own summary. Lin He didn't take it to heart, not because he underestimated the enemy, but because Hu Dai was not important at the moment. Because she has to go to a date with an. Jiang Qiao left for work early, so Lin He slept a little longer. After washing up, she found that Jiangan had sent her a message saying that he wanted to meet her. Lin He agreed without hesitation and the meeting was set. Looking at the location sent by Jiangan, Lin He felt a little familiar. After eating 2 bites of the bun, she suddenly remembered that the international road was opposite the Jiang group. Chapter 21, Love-brained, but no money. The meeting was scheduled for the afternoon, so Lin He didn't need to rush out. She ate her breakfast leisurely, or it would be more appropriate to say lunch, after all, it was almost 11 o'clock. However, Lin He is not the one who wakes up the latest in the family, he is the one in the first grade of junior high school. She sat at the dining table, swaying and yawning. The servant came forward skillfully and set the plates. The breakfast on the first day of the new year was sandwiches and fried sausages. First he picked up the cup and gulped down half the cup of milk, then he took a big bite of the sandwich, his cheeks bulging with food. She deliberately ignored Lin He. Before going downstairs, Chuyi received a message from Zhao Qing, who first expressed concern for her and then said that she didn't think Lin He was a bad woman. Chu Yi, who was somewhat grateful to Lin He because of what happened yesterday, immediately changed his mind after reading Zhao Qing's message. I almost got fooled. That bad woman did it on purpose. After this incident, she seemed to understand the greater good and gained enough favor and trust from her father. Now everyone thinks she is a good person. I thought to myself at first that I must not be eroded by the sugar-coated bullets. I must hold on. Butler, transfer 1 million to my card. I want to go shopping today. CS Clothes have new styles. Dad said I won't be short of food and clothes. He will definitely agree to give me money to buy clothes. The former Chu Yi would never explain the latter sentence, now he was just saying it for Lin He to hear. It's true that my father agreed to limit my pocket money, but if you stop me from buying clothes, he won't stand by you. After all, I'm his biological daughter. Thinking this in his heart, Chu Yi, who felt righteous, glanced at Lin He and snorted softly. How could the housekeeper dare to agree to this? It was fine because there was no mistress before, but now their husband has said that everything in the house is decided by his wife, including the education of the children. Butler, give her my card. She can buy anything she wants directly. Hearing Lin He say this, Chu Yi could no longer hold back and angrily asked Lin He, why? Lin He, who was drinking porridge, said without raising his head, you can buy whatever you want to wear, there is no limit. What are you dissatisfied with? Chu Yi pursed her lips, what she wanted was 1 million. Aren't you afraid that I'll blow up my account? You can't spend it all, do you think you can bankrupt your father in one day? Lin He put down the spoon and asked again, his meaning was very clear, it doesn't matter if you want to vent your anger and spend money recklessly, the money was all paid by your father. Or maybe someone wanted to falsify the accounts, and the 1 million was not actually used to buy clothes. Lin He's tone was drawn out, full of sarcasm. Chu Yi felt that he was being ridiculed, but in fact Lin He was just teasing his daughter. If he really wanted to insult her verbally, he would definitely not use words like this. Chu Yi stopped talking because Lin He guessed right, he wanted to use the money for other purposes. This family's surname is Jiang. You don't have the final say. My father and I want it. Chu Yi said those harsh words and went upstairs. Halfway up, he turned back angrily and said to the housekeeper, traitor. Looking at the young lady's back as she ran away, the butler touched his nose. He just recognized who was the boss in the family now. From the moment she mentioned the number 1 million on the first day of the new year, Lin He knew what his daughter wanted to do. Pay back the money to Hanzun. Lin He has already learned Hanzun's basic information. The other party is an excellent student and a good basketball player, but he is introverted and not good at socializing. He has a very delicate and handsome face, and many female classmates like him. A month ago, Hanzun's father came to the school to make a scene, and the classmates then learned that Hanzun's family was poor, his father was a gambler, and his mother worked odd jobs in a factory to support the family. Hanzun was recruited to this high school because of his excellent performance in high school. All tuition and miscellaneous fees were waived, and he also received subsidies and scholarships, so his life was not difficult. The incident caused by Han's father gave some classmates who disliked Hanzun and thought he was pretentious a reason to mock and bully him, causing a wave of disturbance in Hanzun's originally peaceful campus life. But there is no such thing as school violence, it is more of a personal insult. After Chu Yi, who was abroad, heard about this, he felt very distressed and planned to buy a sports car for Hanzun, saying that he bought it with the money he earned from stock trading. As a result, he died before he could accomplish his mission. Not only did Chu Yi not get the 8 million, he also put his own pocket money into it. The group of scoundrels in my restaurant wanted to collect a debt of 950,000 yuan from Hanzun. It is easy to imagine what Chu Yi wanted the 1 million yuan for. Lin He didn't care where the 1 million went. If it could really help a poor child, she would be happy. The key is whether this child is worth helping. Chu Yi usually takes good care of Hanzun, but Hanzun doesn't appreciate it and his attitude is hot and cold. The interaction between the two is mostly one-sided enthusiasm from Chu Yi. Under the premise that Hanzun was unaware, forced, and unwilling, Chu Yi helped him solve many problems. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, but Lin He felt a sense of disobedience. Without investigation, there is no right to speak, so she thinks she still needs to observe. If you want to see something, you have to control the money on the first day of the new year. Without Chu Yi's help, how would Hanzun face the difficulties? Lin He watched. There are tall buildings everywhere and the bustling city scene is in sight. This is the business center of City B. The most iconic building here is the Jiang Group building. Lin He was sitting in a tea house on this street filled with the Jiangnan style, reading the message sent by the housekeeper. The housekeeper said she was gone for about 10 minutes, and the eldest lady also went downstairs and out. Lin He sighed, and it was obvious that he had gone to find Hanzun. A girl's feelings are always poetic. Lin He sighed. Again, she would not stimulate her daughter's rebellious psychology. What she should do more is to teach her daughter to see through the truth, learn to make choices and find the essence. While thinking about these things, Lin He didn't notice Jiangan coming over. It wasn't until the person sat down that he reacted, then he smiled and said, "Here I come, Tilda." Yeah. Jiangan still looked indifferent. Lin He was not scared off by her son's cold face and continued to smile. "Mom didn't order anything for you. See what you want to drink." Regardless of whether her son recognizes her or not, Lin He has to call herself mother. To enhance the relationship between mother and son, one person has to take the initiative, so as a mother, she of course has to coax her son. "Warm water is fine. Jiangan doesn't like drinking tea. Anan, do you still remember that mom loves to drink tea, so she booked it here? I'm so happy, thank you, Anan Tilda. Lin He doesn't like coffee or other drinks. She likes all kinds of tea, scented tea, longjing, de hongpao and so on." Jiangan scratched the hand holding the cup, feeling a little overwhelmed by the confession. Lin He is a very extroverted person. She laughs when she is happy and cries when she is sad. She will say directly what she likes. She is very good at expressing herself. Just like now, because of Jiangan's actions, introverted people would be quietly happy, but Lin He directly expressed strong signals of happiness. "You're welcome." When Jiangan saw Lin, his bright eyes filled with joy, the corners of his mouth unconsciously curled up slightly when he replied, "Obviously I didn't do anything remarkable." Lin He's affirmation made Jiangan feel favored, the kind of favor that makes your mother proud of you no matter what you do, which is something he has never had in the past 15 years. The memory of my mother became clearer again. So, what he is going to do next is right. Jiangan raised his eyes. Shall we go to Jiang's? Chapter 22, Jiang's group checks out. Why do you suddenly want to go to Jiang's? Although Lin He was a little confused about his son's proposal, he still agreed. Jiangan continued, "Pack a cup of drink for Dad." Lin He was delighted. Did his son want to ease his relationship with his father? "Should we talk to your dad?" Jiangan smiled softly. "No, give him a surprise." Of course Lin He had no objection. In fact, she was quite looking forward to it, as this was her first time going to the Jiang building. "You haven't been there." This time it was Jiangan's turn to be surprised. The two did not mention the topic of the mother-son relationship during their conversation. Jiangan did not call her mother, and Lin He did not dwell on it. Lin He called herself mother, and Jiangan did not refuse. Rather than saying that this meeting was a recognition of relatives, it would be more accurate to say that it was a mutual understanding. Jiangan didn't know much about his mother based on his memory when he was 6 years old, and Lin He didn't know how her son had grown in the past 15 years. Their mother and son had not seen each other for 15 years, and the unfamiliar distance needed to be narrowed. Don't think your father is so impressive just because he is called Mr. Jiang. He made a lot of mistakes in the first year after taking over the company. He was embarrassed to ask me to come and see him before he made any achievements. Later, when things got back on track, I started to get busy with my own work again. What Lin He said was something Jiangan could not understand. After their mother disappeared, their father never told them about this. In Jiangan's memory, he can no longer remember what his father was like before he was 6 years old. Lin He was not in a hurry to go to Jiang Group. She talked to Jiangan about the past, and it was mostly her talking while Jiangan was listening. Jiangan listened very carefully. His expression was obviously softer than when he first came in, especially when he talked about some things from his childhood. The little sparks in his eyes were as bright as stars. When we were little, you used all kinds of tricks to stop me from drinking milk. One time, you even said that the milk missed home and went to look for its mother, but in fact, you secretly poured it into the sink." Having said this, Lin He paused for a moment. "Your sister is different from you. This morning she drank half a cup in one go. I don't know if 15 likes to drink milk. The child won't be back until next week." Lin He tried to mention the twins in front of Jiangan. She wanted to find out the conflicts between the children. Unfortunately, Jiangan didn't give him a chance. As soon as Lin He brought up the topic, he said, "Let's go over now." Jiangan was obviously unwilling to talk much about his younger brothers and sisters. He didn't even ask why Lin He concealed his true identity in front of Chuyi. Lin He thought, it seems that it is not easy to ask an, and he has to start from the 1st and 15th day of the lunar month. Jiang Group. The 4 large gold-plated characters shone brightly under the sunlight, and the entire building was filled with Jiang's employees. The addresses of other companies are mostly on a certain floor of an office building, but the Jiang Group occupies the entire building. Not only this building, but even the land downstairs belongs to the Jiang Group. In City B, where every inch of land is valuable, one can imagine the value of this land. Lin He followed Jiangan, first passed through the security gate, and then swiped his work badge to enter the elevator. Seeing Lin He looking at his employee ID curiously, Jiangan handed it to Lin He and said, "I work here every winter and summer vacation. Do they know who you are?" Jiangan thought about it and said, "I don't know either. Some people know, some don't, and some know but pretend not to know." He is not sure. Jiangan was only responsible for doing his job well, and did not deliberately conceal or show off his identity. So far, no one has asked him whether he is Mr. Jiang's son. But it can be seen that he is a relative. "Let's go to your workstation first." Lin He was very interested and wanted to see where his son worked every day. Assistant Fang in the corridor saw Jiangan about to walk over to say hello, and then his eyes widened when he saw Lin He walking side by side with Jiangan. Jiangan always keeps a distance from his female colleagues in the company, so walking with their shoulders touching like this is considered a very intimate gesture for Jiangan. Assistant Fan rubbed his eyes and looked at Lin He, thinking that he was unfamiliar. He must not be an employee of the company. Otherwise, he would have attracted attention long ago with such good looks. Jiangan brought his girlfriend here. Assistant Fang, why are you standing here like an idiot? Secretary Li patted Assistant Fang on the shoulder while holding a document. Hey, Jiangan seems to have brought his girlfriend here. After saying this, Assistant Fang found that the 2 people he was looking at were looking at him. He immediately covered his mouth with his hand. Oops, he failed to control the volume. Not my girlfriend. Jiangan frowned. Lin He continued, "You misunderstood. I am the elder in his family." He felt that the explanation was not enough, so he added, "We are related by blood." Assistant Fang knew that he had made a misunderstanding, so he smiled awkwardly and quickly apologized, I'm sorry, it was my fault." "Where's President Jiang?" "Mr. Jiang is in a meeting upstairs." Jiangan nodded and left without any intention of introducing him. "Did I offend him?" Assistant Fang sighed. It was all his fault. Secretary Li patted Special Assistant Fang on the shoulder again and said, "Take care." As the secretary and special assistant of President Jiang, these 2 are the few people who know Jiangan's true identity. Others thought that Jiangan was Mr. Jiang's relative, but they didn't know that Jiangan was Mr. Jiang's biological son, a real prince. The 2 people who knew about this naturally wouldn't make a fuss about it. They pretended not to know and continued to treat Jiangan normally. Assistant Fang was really overthinking it. Jiangan didn't take it seriously at all. He was showing Lin He his workstation. A desk, a chair and a computer. It's dead simple. I'm in class right now. I'll come next month when school is free. Jiangan explained why his workstation was so barren. Lin He smiled and said, I plan to buy some potted plants in a few days. How about I buy you 2 pots then? Jiangan hummed, and the corners of his mouth curled up again. He took Lin He around to see their working environment. When Lin He asked, Jiangan told him what he did every day. Jiangan's workstation is next to the secretariat. There are few employees on this floor. Except for the 2 people he just met, the rest of the employees are in the conference room upstairs. Jiang Qiao's office is also upstairs. Lin He and Jiangan came to Jiang Qiao's office. Secretary Li knew that Jiangan was Mr. Jiang's son and had gone into wait like this before, so he didn't stop them. She just needs to report to Mr. Jiang after the meeting. Their meeting should be over soon. You can sit here and rest for a while. Jiangan pointed to the spot next to the coffee machine, where there was a single sofa. This place is blocked by a screen, so people coming in from outside won't be able to see it unless they come around to make coffee. Jiangan has his own little thoughts. Seeing Lin He sitting down, Jiangan's eyes flashed, and he waited for someone to come. Chapter 23. You are really pretentious. Jiang Qiao did not go back to the office alone. The three employees following him looked like eggplants hit by frost. They came to the office to continue being scolded after being criticized in the meeting. All three of them are vice president level management. They usually act very imposing and authoritative in front of their employees. But now, they are like mice seeing a cat. They are not only trembling with fear, but also trembling with fear. The three people had wandering eyes and sweat on their nervous foreheads. Jiang Qiao came in and saw Jiangan sitting on the sofa fiddling with tea sets. He glanced at him without saying a word. He did not notice Lin He, and Jiangan did not remind him. Lin He deliberately hid in the back and didn't make a sound. The two of them planned to do something weird and wait for Jiang Qiao to come back and suddenly jump out to scare him. As for why Jiangan fiddled with the tea set, he said his father never drank packaged drinks with straws, so he had to pour them into the cup. Lin He raised his eyebrows. When did Jiang Qiao develop this habit? You know, when they were in college, that guy often snatched your juice from her, and they took a sip through straws so many times that he really enjoyed it. But think about it, Jiang Qiao is such a big boss, and suddenly picked up the yellow cup with a blue straw to drink sweet water while planning the strategy, which is indeed a bit out of place. Hearing the footsteps of several people, Lin He shrank back and hid quickly. Through the gap in the screen, he saw Jiangan still calmly stirring the drink in his hand. Lin He held his forehead with his hand. The air of a relative shouldn't be too strong. The three of them noticed Jiangan in the house, but President Jiang didn't let anyone out, so how could they dare to show any attitude as they were busy taking care of themselves at the moment? How many years have you been in Jiang's? Jiang Qiao's voice was cold and clear. It was clearly a question, but his tone was flat and contained a sense of oppression and coldness. Jiangan heard his father's tone and glanced at the coffee machine calmly. Look, this is what he looks like on a daily basis. The prerequisite for you to achieve success is that you cannot engage in malicious internal competition and violate company regulations. Where there are people, there will inevitably be struggles, and this is also true within the Jiang group. As long as it does not violate company regulations, appropriate and healthy competition is beneficial. But if it exceeds that limit, the benign condition will turn into malignant condition. Not only did these three people cause an ugly scene, they also created a huge mess. Seeing that they could no longer cover it up, they were dragged before the boss and executed. The three people spoke of their own difficulties, talked about their contributions and hard work over the years, and pleaded for themselves earnestly. They knew that President Jiang's attitude could determine whether they stayed or went. Leaving the Jiang family means unemployment in middle age, and it will be bad for your reputation to find a job after such an incident. But these are not things that Jiang Qiao needs to take into account. Adults should be responsible for their own actions. Jiang Qiao is not a sentimental person. Faced with the three people swearing to the sky and even kneeling on the ground to beg, Jiang Qiao did not even blink an eye and called the security guards to drag them out. Jiangan was not surprised at all, this was what his father originally looked like. What are you doing here? The three men left and the office fell silent. Jiang Qiao's tone when speaking to Jiangan was not much gentler than when speaking to those three men. For you. Jiangan stood up and placed the cup in front of Jiang Qiao. When I returned to the office, the secretary said that Jiangan was in the room. She wanted to add that there was another lady, but Jiang Qiao had already strode over. Looking at the depressed looks of the three vice presidents following behind her, she closed her mouth in disappointment. It's better not to go and bring bad luck upon yourself. Mr. Jiang will be able to see it when he opens the door anyway. So Jiang Qiao didn't even know that Lin He had come to the company. Don't you want me to come over? Jiangan's question stopped Lin He, who was about to come out and shout something funny. Jiang Qiao rubbed his temples. If it weren't for those three idiots causing trouble, he wouldn't have to come to the company today. He would rather stay at home with He. Let's go if nothing else. There was still a lot of work to be done, so Jiang Qiao began to order Jiangan to leave, speaking in a businesslike tone, as if Jiangan was not his son. Dad, do you hate me very much? Jiangan asked. Jiang Qiao looked at his son with his eyes half closed. He was not surprised that his son asked this question, but the tone of his voice. Wronged? It has been many years since I heard the word dad from my son's mouth. He usually has a very rebellious attitude, and the cold word, father, makes him feel like he is putting himself in the coffin. How could she be like a love-deprived child, asking if he hated him? Jiangan knew his father's nature, and likewise, Jiang Qiao understood his son. The father and son looked at each other, and the air seemed to freeze in an instant. At this time, Jiang Qiao moved his ears and looked at the screen behind him. The floor of the office was made of white tiles. The president's office was spotlessly cleaned by the housekeeper, so it was not surprising that blurry reflections of human figures could be seen on the floor tiles. Although it's not clear, you can get a general idea. Jiang Qiao knew the layout of his office very clearly. That was not the reflection of an object like a coffee machine, but a person hiding. Jiangan noticed his father's gaze and suddenly had a bad feeling. After hearing what his father said next, he knew he was exposed. I haven't been a good father these years. I feel guilty towards you. I know it's too late to say anything now. I accept all your complaints against me. That's enough. Jiangan interrupted, warmth is not suitable for them. Lin He, who had not found a suitable opportunity to show up, so that the atmosphere between father and son was not right and they seemed to be about to quarrel, so she quickly showed up. Jiao Qiao, here I come tilde. He. Jiang Qiao was surprised, then he looked at Jiangan and said with emotion, are you bringing your mother along to surprise me? Jiangan simply turned sideways and couldn't help rolling his eyes. He was really pretentious. He pretends to be young in front of his mother, speaking with a raised tone, not being disgusting despite his age. Even though he usually speaks in a cold tone that can freeze people to death. Jiangan brought Lin He to the company because he wanted her to see her father's true face. Jiangan was the one who noticed the changes in Jiang Qiao over the years the most. Everyone says that his mother is his most explosive character and should not be mentioned lightly, but few people know that his father is even worse than him. Jiangan remembered that someone deliberately threw dirty water on his mother in order to anger his father. His father was indeed angry, and that person was tortured very badly, not only in terms of the superficial experience, but also in terms of mental breakdown. From there Jiangan began to pay close attention and discovered that as long as it was related to his mother, those who caused trouble would not have a good ending and would all suffer tragic consequences. It was the extent to which Jiangan was frightened. My father appears to be gentle and polite to others, and his speech and thinking are thoughtful. He seems to be gentle and noble, but in fact he is a lunatic. The gentler he is in front of his mother now, the crazier he is inside. Jiangan is afraid that his mother's unintentional actions will cause his father to lose his mind and act paranoid and crazy. My father is a lunatic. If he told his mother simply, she would definitely not believe it. Jiangan could see that his mother was very dependent on his father, but his father was no longer the same person he used to be. 15 years is a long time and can completely change a person. Jiangan lowered his eyes. There was only mother, and still mother. Chapter 24 Jiang's building, the center of everyone's attention. Today was already terrible, but now it's different now that you're here. I'm very happy that you and Anan thought about me and came to the company to see me. This cabinet is filled with your favorite snacks. I prepared them the day you came back, thinking they would be available for you to eat when you came. Seeing his father taking his mother to visit his office, Jiangan looked at him coldly. He was indeed an old fox in the business world, so cunning. Deliberately put yourself in a weak position, so that your mother will feel distressed. Then you can let him ask for it. Jiangan suddenly felt a little regretful. He should have made detailed preparations before bringing his mother to the company. I still have 2 hours before get-off work ends. Shall we go back together? Lin He looked at Jiangan, asking him if he wanted to wait for his father to get off work together. Okay, let's take advantage of this time and walk around the company. The office building of Jiang Group is very large, and the working environment for employees is particularly good. There are leisure areas, fitness areas, and some special indoor landscapes. The employee cafeteria is also worth a visit. The most important thing is that, by the way, I can understand the development of the Jiang Group in the past 15 years. My father's thundering methods are quite inconsistent with the temperament he shows now. Being gentle in front of your mother is all an illusion. Then Qiao, just focus on your work, and we'll go home together after get-off work tilde. Jiang Qiao's temples throbbed. He believed that his employees would definitely not say bad things, but if this debt-collecting son instigated them, he couldn't say for sure. Can I accompany you? Jiang Qiao suggested this, but Lin He refused without thinking. If this big boss is here, he will not be strolling around the company but inspecting. What's the point of strolling around if he makes the employees nervous? No, if you don't work hard, we'll leave now. Jiang Qiao, who couldn't persuade Lin He, sighed, took out a card from the drawer and handed it over, saying, "Take this. This is Jiang Qiao's work badge. He has never used it since he got it because everyone in Mr. Jiang's company can just scan their face and there is no need for a card. I have a card." Jiangan raised his employee card. "My card can be used freely in all areas of the company." With just one word, Jiangan shut up. He couldn't. As an intern, the elevator could only go to the floor where his workstation was located. Lin He and Jiangan took the card and left. Jiang Qiao looked at their backs and smiled meaningfully. Of course, Jiangan had to leave his father in the office so that he wouldn't be disturbed. It would be convenient for him to tell any story in any work area he passed by. For example, when you go to the legal department, you can talk about the acquisition case that year, and the miserable life of the other party's CEO after his threat to jump off the building failed. Then, when you go to the administrative department, you can talk about what kind of public relations methods CEO Jiang used to deal with online public opinion. Jiangan promised not to talk about those things, but he didn't say he wouldn't talk about them. Actually, it was because Jiang Qiao had been hiding from the public most of the time over the past 15 years that Jiangan had something to say. Unfortunately, Jiangan's plan failed again. It turns out that old ginger is still spicy. Jiang Qiaoren is not here, but his card presence is very strong. The Jiang Building Company is divided into many departments, and many departments contain many studios, which also have various branches. Unrelated people are not allowed to wander around the company. First, the elevator is locked, and secondly, the door to the office area is also locked, and both require identity card verification. According to Jiangan's experience, no matter which department you want to enter, you just need to swipe your ID card. But he didn't know that one ID card is different from another. An intern's ID card can be entered with just a click and a flash, but Mr. Jiang's card is different. As the owner of the entire Jiang Group, how could his card be just an ordinary one? After Lin He put the card on the sensor, the closed door opened 90 degrees. A warm yellow light lit up above the door. And voice broadcast. "Please come in." Lin He didn't understand the special features of this process when he came here for the first time, but other employees knew it. That's not how they swipe their cards. The door light flashes green, which means it's unlocked, and then they just push the door open to go in. When did these tricks come into being? The other employees all turned their eyes to see that the door could open by itself without having to push it. It even had voice control. And it even had a light strip. If Jiang Qiao came to the employee area, it would be considered a leadership inspection, and the managers and CEOs would be well prepared. There would be no such thing as swiping the door open only when someone arrived. The door had already been open. So the employees really didn't know that the security door had such a trick. Therefore, Lin He and Jiangan also attracted special attention. Under normal circumstances, no one would pay attention to unfamiliar people who appear here. After all, the company is so big that it is impossible to know every colleague. But today the two had to take a closer look, and one of the female employees even ran over and asked, "Hello, do you need any help?" Just as the female employee finished asking, she saw a figure running out of the manager's office. Manager Chu said with a friendly smile on his face, "Please come this way, both of you. Do you have any instructions?" Ordinary employees don't know, but some management know that only Mr. Jiang's ID card can trigger the special sound effect, which was also an Easter egg created by the original design team. Anyone who can get Mr. Jiang's ID card must be extraordinary. Even if it's just a message, you have to treat them well. Manager Chu swallowed his saliva and looked at Lin He and Jiangan in front of him diligently. Lin He, Jiangan. At this moment, both of them had the urge to throw away the card. "Nothing, just come for a walk." Hearing Jiangan say this, Manager Chu rubbed his hands and said, okay, you two are free to do whatever you want, you two are free to do whatever you want." Then he naturally fell behind them and stood one step behind them, meaning he wanted to follow them. Jiangan's cold face didn't work at all. After receiving the signal from Manager Chu, the other employees hurried to work and clean up the messy desks. Lin He. "It feels like I'm the grade director in charge of checking hygiene discipline in school." Jiangan crossed his arms with a sullen expression. How could he say such bad things? After a quick walk around, the two of them quickly left the office area. Manager Chu at the back waved his hand like an enthusiastic relative from home, saying, "Come back when you have time. You're always welcome." "This card doesn't work." Lin He's expression was heavy, and Jiangan nodded in agreement. "It didn't work. It's not that the card didn't work, it's that it didn't work even if I didn't swipe the card." When they reached the next floor, the two people who entered with Jiangan's ID card were disheartened when they saw another manager who was as enthusiastic as Manager Chu. The two of them proved one thing: there are no secrets in the Jiang building. And the relationship between employees is good. They just went to one department and then the word spread. Employees in the department who are visiting for the first time will send a message to their friends in other departments. The higher-ups are here to inspect, don't slack off, or you'll be made an example if you're caught. After the important central idea was conveyed, the attire of the two imperial envoys was described in detail. It made no difference whether Lin He and Jiangan used the card or not, the mother and son were artificially locked. Some employees even pretended to pass by casually and stood guard at the door in order to witness the legendary way of opening the door. The two wanted to sneak in. Impossible. They were discovered from a distance when they came out of the elevator and walked to the security door. Jiangan was so angry that he gritted his teeth when he saw them being warmly welcomed wherever they went, with managers and supervisors following them everywhere. Hateful. Chapter 25 Alarming everyone. Wherever I go, I am watched like an animal in a zoo. What is the point of going shopping? The two returned to the CEO's office. Jiang Qiao saw Lin He and Jiangan looking surprised. Did you finish shopping so quickly? Lin He glared at him angrily and said, "It's all your fault, you lousy card. I wanted to quietly move around the company, but ended up being so high profile." As Jiang Qiao asked the reason, Lin He talked about the state guest treatment he had received in the past half hour. As one of the parties involved, Jiangan didn't think what happened was that interesting, but after listening to Lin He's story and recalling the situation at that time, he couldn't help but find it funny. Jiang Qiao would chat with her from time to time. His eyes were full of affection and radiance, as if Lin He in front of him was his whole world, and he felt very happy. Jiangan smiled and then hesitated for a moment, a confused look of slight surprise. He realized that this was exactly the scene he wanted most when he was a child, a family chatting about trivial matters and laughing together, in warmth and harmony. It turns out it's so simple to achieve. As long as mom is here. In fact, Jiangan still had some difficulty in believing the 15-year time travel. Born under the red flag and raised in the spring breeze, he had believed in science since childhood. But apart from using supernatural explanations, other reasons were not convincing. Jiangan decided not to dwell on it, it was not important. Mom is mom, and mom is back, and that's enough. Jiangan's brows relaxed a little as he suddenly felt enlightened. He remembered that when he was walking around the department just now, he seemed to have received a message on his phone, but he didn't have time to check it. Looking at the content of the message again, Jiangan's face darkened slightly. He was halfway through typing a reply when the phone rang. Hearing the ringing, Lin He stopped talking, and when he saw his son standing up, he said, "I have something to do here, so I'll leave first." After Lin He nodded in response, Jiangan picked up the phone and walked out. As for my father's attitude, it doesn't matter. Wait tilde. Lin He called Jiangan, ran to the snack cabinet, took out a bag of dried fruits and stuffed it into his son's arms. Eat on the way. He smiled and nodded outside, go tilde. Jiangan pinched the dried mango that was his favorite when he was a child, put it in his shirt pocket, then took a step forward and gently hugged Lin He. In less than a second, he quickly turned around and walked away quickly. Lin He stood there in a daze, then a huge smile broke out on his face. His son was hugging him. During this meeting, she clearly felt that her son was not as resistant to her and was truly accepting her. "Jiao Qiao, did you see that?" Lin He turned around and shared the joy with Jiang Qiao. Lin He, who had wanted to have dinner with her son, felt a little disappointed when she heard that her son was leaving. But after their hug, she instantly felt happy. Yes. Jiang Qiao felt a little jealous. He wasn't that happy even when he hugged her. Lin He sat down on the sofa with brisk steps, in a very good mood. He picked up his mobile phone and swiped it a few times, and couldn't help showing an African guy's question mark face. Who die is sick? There was an entry called Beijing Clarification on the hot search, and Lin He clicked on it. The content was that Beijing announced that it would refund the cost of the 8th batch of cosmetics purchased by consumers, which was the batch with problems. You can apply for a refund directly through the purchase channel. This solution has received a good response online. This was nothing, the key point was that Hu Dai suddenly went crazy and took her with him again. Looking at the so-called popular science blog of the marketing account, it is not difficult to see that it was the work of Hu Dai. They actually marketed their friendship with her bestie. Originally, netizens were not clear about the identity of the other partner. Now they not only know Lin He's name, but also know that it was she who co-invested and founded Beijing Cosmetics Company. Hu Dai also hypocritically said that she was sad to see netizens blaming Lin He, and that it was her failure to handle the situation well that led to everyone's misunderstanding. This time Beijing was very humble and Hu Dai took all the blame on herself. Online public opinion is better than last time. Netizens are very satisfied with Hu Dai's attitude of just standing there and taking the blame when she does something wrong. Most of the reactions that anger netizens are usually stubborn or looking for excuses to shift the blame. Everyone stopped criticizing Beijing and started to marvel at their fairy-like friendship, saying that it was worth it to have a friend like Hu Dai for the rest of their lives. Lin He was silent. During the 15 years when he was gone, Hu Dai had mastered the internet very well. She came home this morning, but the housekeeper didn't let her in. Jiang Qiao frowned, thinking that Hu Dai was just a clown. He said, "I asked someone to remove the trending search." As he said this, Jiang Qiao had already thought of a way to make Hu Dai disappear. Of course, this disappearance did not mean breaking the law, but it was meant to make the other party give up and not dare to provoke him again. Learn this lesson from this. Lin He waved his hand. "No, we don't want to waste that money. You continue working, I'll take care of it." Lin He was not complaining, he was simply complaining to Jiang Qiao. Look at Lin He lying on the sofa, holding a piece of dried fruit in his mouth, typing on his mobile phone with a serious expression. Jiang Qiao smiled. Well, he would take care of it no matter what. He would just let He be happy first. Lin He's approach was simple and crude. He directly posted on Weibo using his own Weibo account, the same account that Hu Dai used to leave messages on every year. "Not familiar, thank you." She originally typed a long paragraph, but felt that saying too much would only embarrass Hu Dai, so she decided to only send for words in the final version. When netizens read this Weibo post, their first reaction was suspicion. How could a high-quality imitation account impersonate Lin He so quickly? They are really good at writing on the popularity. I clicked on it again and found that this was the real person. Everyone has accepted the explanation that Lin He's online presence was the work of his family, so this response is also the attitude of Lin He's family. This, Hu Dai is contradicting herself again. I thought I could turn public opinion around, but as soon as this Weibo post came out, it became lively again. Most netizens love gossip and have detective minds. They began to speculate why Beijing was marketing the fairy friendship thing. It must be profitable. Remove the trending search. Remove the trending search. After seeing the situation online, Hu Dai asked her subordinates to quickly remove the purchased hot searches, and the internet trolls who were hyping up the fairy friendship also stopped their actions immediately. I wanted to rely on Lin He to put pressure on Mr. Jiang's new girlfriend, and use this to restore the relationship with Jiang Qiao, but how could it turn out like this? Yes, Hu Dai, who had used Lin He to gain benefits from Jiang Qiao for 15 years, still chose to continue using Lin He as a breakthrough point after failing once. But why is it so hard to chew this bone this time? Who posted this Weibo? It must not be Jiang Qiao. If the other party is dissatisfied, this is not his style of behavior. After thinking again and again, Hu Dai set her sights on the stand-in who looked 90% like Lin He. How dare she log into Lin He's account? Did Jiang Qiao really think she was Lin He? Hu Dai gritted her teeth. It seemed that she had to use her last trump card. Lin He, who was in the office, so that the trending search had been removed, and snapped his fingers and said to Jiang Qiao, "Done." After listening to Lin He's idea, Jiang Qiao's eyes darkened. Once this Weibo post was published, it would probably alarm everyone. Are you going to meet those old friends? Lin He smiled and said, "It depends on fate." There was nothing shameful about her coming back. Apart from hiding some things from the children, there was no need to hide anything else. The most important thing is that she wants to get back the face for the children. Jiang Qiao is a careless father. As a mother, it doesn't matter if she is not around, but now that she is back, she naturally has to support the children. Thinking of what she had found out, Lin He couldn't help but breathe harder. Chapter 26. Mom finds a place. On the surface, the three children lived a good life, but in reality, they encountered a lot of bullying during their growth. They are bullied because they are young and easy to talk to, and do not think deeply enough. In order to achieve their own goals, some people let her ignorant children take the blame. She has been asking around these days about the children's past, and many of them are situations that she would definitely go to their homes to demand explanations if she were still alive. The other party thinks I am doing you a favor, I am here to help you, I am giving you an idea to manipulate you, you are taking advantage of me and still acting like a good kid. You have gained benefits and you still have to act like a good person in front of the children to gain favors. The Fang family, who recognized Chuyi as their god-sister, the Zhang family, who often went to play with Shiwu and said they treated Shiwu like their own grandson, the Wen family, where Anan lived as a boarder for 2 years in junior high school. None of them are good. He appears to be nice to the three children, but in fact he is using them to satisfy his own wishes. What else could it be? It's nothing but bullying their three kids, who have a father who doesn't care about anything and only knows how to give money, and a missing mother. Lin He felt angry and distressed when she thought of this. When carrying treasures, one will always encounter some evil wolves. It's not that there are no good people in the world, but her child's surname is Jiang, and the bad guys who covet it will always take the initiative to step forward. After the Zhao family banquet, the news that Jiang Qiao has a new girlfriend will spread quickly, and those who have ulterior motives will inevitably take action. She is waiting. She settled all the accounts for the past 15 years. Lin He was thinking about others, and others were also thinking about her. As she expected, the news that Jiang Qiao had a new girlfriend spread in the circle on the night of the banquet held at the Zhao family. Families who were friendly with the Jiang family all asked about the identity of this new girlfriend. I didn't find out his actual identity, but I did hear a lot about his deeds. I heard that this new girlfriend was very prestigious in front of Jiang Qiao, and even passed the test of the eldest son of the Jiang family, who directly acknowledged her identity and called her mom. Even the eldest daughter of the Jiang family was respectful to her. When she heard that she was blamed by her new girlfriend for doing something wrong, she cried out of guilt. It is said that the aunt of Mr. Jiang's first wife was scared away when she saw his new girlfriend. Oh my god! Who on earth is that person? The fact itself sounds hard to believe, but after being spread from one person to another and exaggerated, Lin He's image has completely taken on a fantasy flavor. It has been rumored that her origin is mysterious and that she might be a witch specially trained by some family. Now some people could no longer sit still, and one of them was Fang's eldest sister-in-law. She contacted Chuyi directly. In the first grade of junior high school, Fang Luo, the younger sister of the Fang family, was my deskmate. They got along well. Chuyi often came to the Fang family to play with Fang Luo, and Fang Luo's sister-in-law Minute Jun always entertained him warmly. Later one day, somehow the topic came up and they mentioned godparents. Under Minute Jun's guidance, Chuyi said, "You're so good to me, I can be your goddaughter, too." Fang Luo clapped her hands and said that it would be more convenient as a family, and it would be okay for him to stay at her house for a few more days when he came to visit on the first day of the new year. And just like that, the godparents were arranged. Originally, matters like godparenting had to be discussed between the two families, and the child was in the first grade of junior high school, so how could one take a child's words seriously? Who can blame the Fang family for being so shameless that they insisted on establishing a godly relationship and announced to the outside world that they had recognized Mr. Jiang's daughter as their godsister? So, after hearing about the new girlfriend, Minute Jun called Chuyi, wanting to invite him home for dinner to ask him what was going on. If the Jiang family has a new mistress, their pattern will change. The Fang family will have to see what kind of character the other party has, and then decide whether to make friends with her or not. The call went through, but Chuyi refused. In response to Minute Jun's invitation, Chuyi made an excuse that he was busy with homework recently and would go in a few days. Chuyi said so, and Minute Jun's character as a caring older sister certainly couldn't be forced, so she showed some concern and then hung up the phone. In fact, Chuyi lied. It was not that she had heavy schoolwork, but that she was not in the mood to go to Fang's house. She had just met Hanzun, who was beaten. Because she had no money to pay back, all the valuables in the house were taken away. Her mother was so angry that she was hospitalized. Chuyi wanted to help him pay it back, but he didn't have the money at all. No matter how many words of comfort she said, they were all in vain. Facing Hanzun's silence, Chui felt indescribable pain for not being able to help him, so she took out all the cash she had on her. More than 5,000 yuan is a drop in the bucket compared to the gambling debt, but Hanzun can buy some supplements for his mother. Afraid that Hanzun would not accept it, Chui stuffed all the money into his pocket and ran away, saying before leaving, "I'll find a way, wait for me." Chui didn't see how the proud man, who she thought was so proud, made a disgusted sound after pinching the thickness of the money. Chui was very depressed after leaving the Han family. She had never worried about money, but for the first time she felt how difficult it was to have $1 million. Because she is under 18, all property transactions under her name require the signature of her guardian. She cannot sell brand name bags and jewelry secretly. If her father finds out, or if that woman finds out and complains, it will bring trouble to Hanzun. Dad is more ruthless than those debt collectors. The second generation around her are also people who spend every penny they have, and their pocket money is not much every month. And she wanted to borrow money. What if her father heard about it? After thinking about it for a long time, I still can't find a good solution. At this time, Minute Jun called. After hanging up the phone, Chui wandered on the roadside for a long time. She had no good ideas, so she finally decided to borrow money. But she had to be careful about who she borrowed money from. If she borrowed too many people, it would be easy to expose the matter. She only borrowed from one person. And she asked the other person to keep it a secret. Chui called Minute Jun back. "Sister Jun, can you lend me 1 million? I need it urgently. Please keep it a secret and I will pay you back in a month or two." Hearing Chui say this, Minute Jun's eyes sparkled, and she said, "Of course it's no problem to borrow money. Chui, have you encountered any difficulties? Why don't you come to my house and we can talk about it face to face?" Chui didn't dare to say it to Minute Jun's face. She was the kind of person who couldn't keep secrets. She was afraid that she would let the cat out of the bag, so she used academic issues to get around it and asked Minute Jun to transfer the money directly into his card. After hanging up the phone, Minute Jun transferred the money quickly. Seeing the balance in the card, Chui jumped for joy. It was getting dark, and Hanzun had to go to the hospital to take care of his mother, so I went home first and would give Hanzun money tomorrow. On the other side, Minute Jun smiled with satisfaction. 1 million, well worth it. Now I don't have to worry about having no reason to meet Mr. Jiang's new girlfriend. Chapter 27, Secret Love. Your father used all his tricks back then. Sometimes money comes too easily and goes too quickly. The first day of the new year is an example. I got 1 million and before I could even enjoy it, it was gone. Half an hour ago, after receiving the money from Minute Jun, Chui's first thing was to reassure Hanzun. She sent a message to Hanzun, saying that she had 1 million and would bring it to him tomorrow. Hanzun replied with 2 cold words, "No need." Chui pursed his lips. He always tried to be strong like this, but being too strong would easily lead to failure. Fortunately, he understood Hanzun's soft heart and would not be scared off by his cold appearance. Thinking of Hanzun's temper, Chui decided not to look for him tomorrow. He would directly find those gangsters and return the money. Could Hanzun still go and ask for it back? Chui had the gangsters' contact information, and she had 2 missed calls before she received Hanzun's call at the airport. It was a call from a gangster, who used Hanzun's phone when he couldn't get through. On the first day of the new year, she called the gangster and made an appointment with him to pay Hanzun back the next day. "Everything is ready, all I have to do is wait until tomorrow to meet those thugs and get the IOU back." Chui, who felt that he had helped the person he loved solve a big problem, went back humming a song. He also did a good deed by helping an old man who had fallen down to rest by the flower bed. Then Chui hailed a taxi from the roadside and got in. She was in a good mood all the way. When she got home, she subconsciously touched the card in her pocket. No more. At first Chui thought that she was careless and dropped the money somewhere. She went back to look for it but couldn't find it. But she was not in a hurry. She thought about transferring the money to another card and giving it to those people the same way tomorrow. She logged into the mobile banking slowly and planned to transfer money. After seeing the balance, she rubbed her eyes. 0. Look again, it's still 0. Look again, it's still 0. Damn it. Her bank card was stolen. Looking at the consumption records of varying amounts of money, large and small, Chui's eyes widened as wide as the moon in the sky. 1 million was transferred away silently like that. At this moment, in an alley with no surveillance, the black-haired young man was smoking a cigarette and talking on the phone with his friend. Looking closely at his appearance, he was the younger version of the old man who fell down when he was in the first year of Chu Yi's reign. No, he is the old man, a young man in disguise. Dude, I found a big fish. I had to run for a while, and that idiot was on the side of the road talking to someone on the phone, saying he would bring a card with a 60 pin to the appointment, and the money was in it, so I stole it. Fuck, 1 million. After losing the money, Chu Yi went to the police station to report it. The police opened a case. The transaction records showed that the stolen money came from overseas, which would be very difficult to investigate. It will definitely not be recovered in a short period of time. Chu Yi was heartbroken after hearing this. Why is she so unlucky? Faced with such a reality, she could only accept her fate and the money she had earned flew away. It was the same way home, but Chu Yi's mood was completely different. With a tense expression, he wondered where he could get another million, but even after he entered the house, he still hadn't found a suitable person to borrow money from. Seeing Jiang Qiao and Lin He sitting on the sofa in the living room, she called out, "Dad," and said she was back, then prepared to go upstairs without even looking at Lin He. Stop. Jiang Qiao's expression was serious, and his voice was filled with suppressed anger. Chu Yi had a bad feeling in her heart. She was most afraid of this look of her father and had been afraid of it since she was a child. What are you doing? I went shopping with friends. From the questions and answers, it was clear that there was no trust between father and daughter. Chu Yi never thought that his family already knew that he would have to pay Han Zun back the next day. While investigating Han Zun, Lin He also checked out that gang of thugs. They were thugs from a debt collection company and were usually idle and second-rate people. Lin He asked the housekeeper to disguise her identity and inform the group of people. If there is any new information about Han Zun's father's gambling debt, such as who will pay the money back or who owes money again, etc., please let her know. In return, she will pay for delivering the message. If you have extra money, you'd be a fool not to make it. Who would complain about having too much money? The gangster agreed. Less than 5 minutes after Chu Yi made the phone call to pay back the money, Lin He received the letter. The child suddenly had money in his hands. Where did it come from? This was a big deal. The two waited in the living room for Chu Yi to come back and ask clearly. Where does the money come from? Jiang Qiao's words made Chu Yi's face turn pale. His father knew it. She burst into tears and sobbed, money is gone before I can even spend it. Chu Yi was so sad. His family didn't give him money. He worked so hard to earn 1 million yuan, but it was gone in the blink of an eye. She also had to face the situation that she would not be able to give the gangster money tomorrow, which might cause the other party to intensify his pressure on Han Zun. Under all kinds of pressure, she couldn't help crying when Jiang Qiao asked her, "Why can't I do anything right?" While crying about his misery, Chu Yi let slip that he had given the money he had borrowed from Minute Jun to Chulu. In the end, she just gave up and said to Jiang Qiao, "Dad, I want to help Han Zun. Han Zun is a very good person. He is also very smart and always ranks first in the grade. He is also very kind." Chu Yi, who kept praising Han Zun's merits, was like a lover who saw beauty in everything and saw nothing bad about her. "Do you like him?" Jiang Qiao asked directly. Chu Yi's cheeks flushed and he hummed softly. "You are still young, you can't fall in love too early." As a father, it was natural for Jiang Qiao to say this. Chu Yi was not convinced. "Aren't you and mom also in a premature relationship? And it's a sister-brother relationship." Lin He secretly squeezed Jiang Qiao's hand behind his back and told him to be more careful with his words. He must have been refuted by the child. She was also embarrassed because of this. Jiang Qiao reached back and held Lin He's hand. Thinking of his sweet first love with his wife, the lines on his cold face softened. Chu Yi thought his words had worked, so he continued, "Dad, please give me 1 million. 1 million is nothing to you, but it is life-saving money to Han Zun." Jiang Qiao was not someone who would be held hostage by morals, so he asked back without responding, "Does he like you?" Ding, a word of death. Chu Yi pursed her lips and said stubbornly, "It's enough that I like him. Who I like is my own business." Jiang Qiao shook his head in disappointment, seemingly helpless about his daughter's stubbornness. In fact, he was disgusted. How could a tiger father give birth to a dog son? Through investigation, Jiang Qiao found out that his daughter has been paying special attention to Hanzun since her freshman year in high school. Her daughter will be a senior in the second half of the year, but she still hasn't been able to get him into her arms after 3 years. Not as good as him at all. There were so many male classmates who coveted He back then. Was he able to catch up with He because of his outstanding appearance and excellent grades? No. It's a means. Jiang Jie remembered very clearly that the school hunk from the neighboring school had a crush on He. He looked as good as him and was as good at studying, but in the end, it was all in vain. He strangled his love rival in the cradle just in time. He still doesn't know that the school hunk next door has a crush on her, so how can she succeed without some tricks? If Lin He hadn't been there, Jiang Jie would have asked Chu Yi to sit over and listen carefully.